show my girlfriend.
Dude, that's why I don't live together. He introduces me at the bar, so somebody said, this is my wife's boyfriend.
Well, they did. Who's running the show?
We don't know. It's gotta be voted.
So,
You can, but until you get there first. I suspect Bear will throw people out. I got a feeling. Well, it's either gonna be him or Anderson. For sure. And out of the two, I hope it's Anderson. And it may be because he does not like, he always likes to be ahead of everything. When we were doing that architecture,
I missed you guys.
oh. Of course,
What's been on?
not quite.
Well, not you, but the
No,
details.
it hasn't. Remember?
Yes.
last
Well,
time?
that's right. That's right. It was a little later.
No, carry on. Sorry.
No, we forgot, we were talking about it already.
I had that effect on people.
Oh, Jane, well, in answer to your question, I should get the minutes earlier, get this one there. I tried that once.
Yeah.
I found more things wrong. They don't tell you, I did that thinking, oh, they have things went on like this. The thing said, there's nothing.
Right.
That's last sentence said.
He's ready to throw out meetings.
Right?
I'm sure I see it coming.
Pizza, you go down to the heart.
What?
I'm gonna order pizza, but I didn't say it all he wants. He did.
My recommendation though would be, when you read the minutes, they are a little leaning against them. So maybe just to make it more deadpan. Although I enjoy them.
It's kind of hard to, like.
Not lean against. I know, but
The comment is, and it's go right back, bit by bit.
They're never real read it.
They don't want.
Okay, I'm listening.
Well, we go bit by bit, we'll listen to that, and then we'll, decide.
So it's more than just you?
Oh, yeah. Well, we have, there's three, sometimes four people that I don't.
Yeah. And I struggling in my head because you're so upset at me. You don't have a heart, you don't care. If you live in anything, suffer from someone else who will do it himself.
You talked about enough native stuff with these things.
I did.
Underneath it.
I only brought
Did you show
one.
Lonnie the agendas?
So happy.
Did you show Lonnie the agendas?
No.
It is forever.
Get out.
They added so
Yeah,
much.
it's so long.
I should have brought one in. I'm at the end of the project.
Work slow.
This way, so.
I do appreciate it. Okay, so.
Yeah, I figured we were gonna be here
Oh,
for
we're
3
sitting
hours.
there? I don't
So I
know.
had to sit here.
Mostly what we.
Oh, it's pretty.
We decided.
It's
Not too.
I had that conversation that it's public comment, it's not just residents.
Right, exactly. Want to make sure.
I did notice that right there.
She's a little sick.
It's like I wear
The
it.
old shirt, so.
It's like I wear it.
Yeah.
So I pick their seats. So right in front.
So, it's not, is it taping yet?
I don't know.
The thing that Robert put about the health thing being about Craig specifically. Yeah, oh, okay.
I responded.
Yeah, I can't keep track of what it is on the text messages. And I was just like, that makes me even more pissed off. Like, waits in the agenda and stuff like that. Like, I don't know that stuff because I have something in my thing at the beginning about going after people's healthcare coverage and stuff. But I'll let it come out. So the unelected officials, the rank and file, they don't get insurance? Oh, okay. Okay, then it's not. It's just
Test.
and probably Stan too, right?
4 cupcakes that night, every single one.
Yeah.
Test.
Turn that one off.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't have spouses. Well, I know Mary does. Mary does. Though Mary's not married, right?
Test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if her son is and stuff like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man, pretty sharp. You going out in town tonight?
No.
I know. It's like I feel like I should go home and dress up a little bit. I realized, like, I don't even know, like, about a couple months ago, I realized that if I had to go on a job interview, I didn't have anything. Because, like, I've had my job now for over 5 years. I'm very comfortable. This is, I mean, I didn't wear this to work, but I can wear jeans, whoever I want to work. And I was like, I really don't have, like, anything that's interview material. So I got like, a little cool thing or whatever. But I was like, oh, I just like, bomb. I love it.
Well,
I like comfort. What's that? Is it? Oh, it's both of them?
One of his businesses, he buys it sells it to me. They sell it.
Oh, I have my brain comes down during the meeting that I want to talk about.
not a bad deal.
Like, update my speech as necessary.
I know about.
There's two others.
That want to do it or that are.
Sometimes people do, like, they do, SOS term.
I don't know. Kind of like I'll worry about my own house for now, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I came up with a discussion, so as soon as she started writing a book.
Yeah? Yeah, I know. That's like we were sitting in the back yesterday, and John's like, she's over on her time. I'm like, just don't worry about it. We knew she would. She does. Yeah, she does. Because like there's stuff like I was reading, I was like, oh my god, they do that too, you know? And the thing about the elder abuse cases and stuff, I had no idea that they got really that deep. I thought it was just like cars and coffee.
People don't want to choose.
Say what?
It will cost more to do that because it was
Unfortunately, no, I was thinking the same thing.
a starter.
What's that?
So you're wearing the cat.
Not at all.
I know.
Could be further debated, but,
Everything I talked to, they would say the same commercial.
Yes.
When I was with Motor Works, we were moving cars around. We had seen a guy.
You know me, I like working for it. Doesn't do it now. I don't know. I can sit with them longer than you can.
See if they do.
Let's get Mike another truck.
I have a friend of mine.
He's getting better. Maybe just decently do it. Is this, Mike, is this chair okay? Or you want to,
So it's kind of fun to talk to her about things.
You sure?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
That's good.
To you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
I'm
The front.
Oh, yeah.
I started walking. You better see. Chip compensation.
Oh, really? That's
My dad.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah.
John was kind of checking.
Stand up. So they can-
No, observation, I want to sit down. I got a special shirt.
Well, just down. I was just saying, Michael moved for it. Did you just say
Well, I could sit on the
down,
other
down,
one.
down?
I'll sit on the other one there. How's that? Sorry.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I am. I've been like that all week.
Oh, that too. Yeah, there's always something. I should probably hit more.
I don't even know what these are.
Yeah, I used to, some material that used to have that stuff.
Pretty sure.
So they're actually red cloth.
You
And also just like break them in and line them up more so they're not so spread out.
Hola, how are you doing, Dory? Here's a clerk, you can just look up the meeting and then the board wants to show nominate for term. You just open up the meeting and yeah, open it up and then entertain a motion amongst themselves. So like one of themselves is, you're just conducting, you're not allowed to make a motion, you're allowed to entertain a motion.
These are live these meetings.
You're different.
Yeah. Are they safe?
Yeah.
So like the crazy one last week.
Yeah, they should all be available on the township website.
What somebody should do is do like the finest moment.
Yeah, I think greatest hits is good.
You know what I mean? Just 2 minutes worth of the most bizarre, weird. I mean, just
I can tell you right, based on what she said out now, I can tell you as far as her. I am.
If it's the upper ones, yeah. Lower ones, we'll just go with that.
Just fine.
Venting.
Who's running the meeting? Well, I don't know, one of you are gonna like one of you to run and you wanna run? Again, we'll open it up. Want to make a motion amongst yourselves to elect one of you
The Craig's gonna be at,
No.
he's watching.
You don't have to make one at all.
Nothing like it, that's years ago.
That was pretty good today. Thank you.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, we'll open the meeting, and everybody stands up for the allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Now, in the absence of our Supervisor Adams, I'm going to turn this over to the board so they can elect a replacement for him.
I'll nominate Steve here for the replacement of Supervisor Adams.
Nominate Bob Andrews.
I will second Bob Anderson's motion.
For clarification, you're seconding his motion or seconding him as?
No, I'm seconding his motion.
Or Steve, you second my motion.
Use your microphone.
We have a first and a second,
Stan? We need a
and
vote.
this is for who?
For Steve Beer and Lennon.
Or Bob Anderson.
No, we have a first, by Mr. Anderson.
So for the record, Mr. Anderson made a motion for Steve Beer to be chairperson pro temp while Mr. Adams is out. He's not here tonight. We have a second, Mike. So clerk, if you could take the roll call vote.
Is there, I can interrupt, is there any discussion on that?
If there's.
Yeah, there can be discussion on that, yes.
So, I would just comment, normally it's a senior member of the board that would run the meeting in the future, in the absence of the supervisor. So, I point that out, and perhaps you should reconsider your recommendation in electing a senior member of the board instead of somebody who's been here less than the other three members.
This is a time for discussion by the board members. Typically in the past, it has been a senior member, trustee that has been nominated or has been appointed, the chairperson pro temp, however, it's within the discretion of the board to make that election. If there's no further discussion, then clerk, you can take the roll call vote.
Okay, roll call vote. Bob Anderson?
Yes.
Mike Rickstrom?
Yes.
Stan Wojcicki?
Who are we voting for?
For Beer to be supervisor.
I say no.
Steve?
Use your microphone, stand in.
I say no for
Steve Beer?
Nothing personal, I think the senior man should have the job.
So do I?
It's 2-2, guys.
No. It's a tie vote.
So the motion doesn't pass. So if there's another motion to elect or appoint chairperson pro temp, go ahead and make that motion.
There is, my motion.
So we have a first motion to appoint Mr. Anderson. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Is there discussion on that motion?
With that being said, roll call vote. Bob Anderson?
No.
Mike Rickstrom?
Yes.
Stan Wojcicki?
Yes.
Stephen Beer?
Yes.
With 3-1, motion carries. Bob Anderson.
Can I do it right from here, or do I come up? I'll come up right here.
You can sit here next to me or wherever you come up to.
Before I call for public comment, I have to say that in my wildest dreams, I never thought of replacing the supervisor. But here I am, so I'll do the best I can. So the people that we have signed up to speak tonight, we have John Mchenry.
John Mchenry, Mchenry, Illinois. You know, looking at the agenda, I think we should be a lot more than 3 minutes, but I'll try to stay within the 3 minutes. The first topic I want to touch about is the budget and appropriation ordinance that everyone on this board approved back in, it actually was signed, get the date here. It was signed on 18th day of June 2019, filed with the McHenry County Clerk on June 20th, 2019. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but section 7, it relates to the amount of the capital fund account for town purposes for the fiscal year beginning April 1st, 2019, and continuing thereafter for 3 years be as follows. So what I'm saying is, you already approved some monies for the next 3 years. The committed and assigned in the town fund is $300,000 committed to the general assistance, $250,000 committed to improvements as follows: $50,000 to improvements to the town hall, $150,000 to improvements of parks and facilities, $50,000 to improvements of vehicle equipment replacement for parks department. Another $250,000 assigned and intended for use to deferred maintenance of facilities. Total capital fund account committed and assigned over the next 3 years per year is $850,000. I just want to remind you, you all signed that months ago. Next item I want to address, Steve Bear requested that we talk about resolution 092019, transfer of surplus general town funds to the senior bus fund. I'm not going to read the whole, well, maybe I will. Whereas 60 ILS 12-2015 authorizes the legal voters of the township at the annual township meeting or special township meeting called for the purpose to transfer surplus general town funds to provide the services, facilities for older inhabitants described as in this Article 60 ILSCS 1-22015. And I'm going to skip to the bottom. And this was passed on the 20th of September of this year. And per that law, we had over 200 signed petitions that were turned in. We only required to have 25. We had 200. And again, by that law, it had been passed by 2/3 of the people present at that meeting. All 208 people voted to transfer the $100,000 to maintain the bus service running. Lastly, I want to talk about the cost analysis. I was on that committee with Bob.
John, your 3 minutes is up. Thank you. The next person on the list is Mike Toller.
Mike Toller, Wonder Lake. So again, I'm looking at the meeting agenda minutes here, and it seems that we have a case of, well, the cat's away, the mice will play. There's definitely some interesting items here in new business that seem like they're unique in that you're taking this opportunity, taking advantage of the missing member of the board there to push a couple of interesting items here. We've got this the Senior Express coming back up. We've got the household members health insurance. I'm very interested to see what that one's about, because I don't know of a single business that doesn't offer people health insurance that doesn't also have the ability to cover those families. I do notice that we are continuing this discussion of the invocation. That was a very interesting thing that I saw in there. I'm kind of looking forward to the fact that, as it's been laid down before, if you're going to have an invocation before a public meeting, that you need to be open of all faiths. So I look forward to, if it does pass, us having Christians, Jewish people, Muslims. I I look forward to atheists having their invocation. I look forward to members of the Satanic Temple coming and having their invocation. Because once you open it to one, you open it to all. Don't forget that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Jamie Ross.
Jamie Rouse, Mchenry, spot on board, getting started tonight, real organized. Tonight I wanted to discuss trust. As babies and small children, we trust our parents and guardians to take care of us. Trust that they will provide our basic needs of food, shelter, and safety, make the best decisions for us, and teach us to be the very best version of ourselves that we can be. As we get older, we learn that our parents and guardians are not as perfect as we thought they were. We learn they question themselves and how they raised us. But through it all, we still trust they had our best interests at heart. Then we leave the nest and venture into the real world. We still have that childish fog that people can make decisions based on what is best for everyone and continue to protect those who cannot take care of themselves. We believe that pharmaceutical companies make drugs to help patients get well. We even believe those in public office are there to make positive change in the community. Then we realize companies care about profits, shareholders care about dividends, and politicians care about power. So who can we trust that cares about us? That is up to us to determine. I can tell you that most of the township trustees don't care about us. They care about their taxes and how they don't want to have to decide how other people spend their money. They care about being in control and making sure no one else can tell them what to do. I have seen it in their words, both at these meetings and on social media, when they falsely accuse township employees of stealing gas, buying votes, and sticking it to you by raising your tax assessment. I have seen it in their actions when they eliminated the senior disabled bus, tried to stall the expansion of McHenry business, and their continued efforts to try and figure out how to undermine the will of the electors. I often wondered if they are fundamentally evil or if they just lost sight of what their true intentions were when they started on their path. I do not trust the township board to make decisions that are in the best interests of the township. I have seen evidence that their attempt to consolidate the road district into the township was just a power grab because they thought the commissioner, elected by the residents, had too much authority to do his job without the board's oversight. I do not trust them to make personnel decisions since they appointed a trustee without a complete and transparent interview process, and have been chipping away at the rank and file employees by attacking their credibility and now it seems their health care. I do not trust them to carry out their duties since they do not seem willing to approve the tax levy for next year with absolutely no good reason to not do so. They like to use words like nepotism, cronyism, patronage, and waste. I just see liars, hypocrites, and saboteurs. Every action you take, we know has an ulterior motive. You have abused and broken our trust. And I ask you, like I ask at every meeting, if you are not in this for the good of the township, please resign.
Thank you, Jamie. John Sarf.
Oh, I had seconds left.
John Sarf, Incorporated Mchenry. I'm going to sort of expound on what Mike Toller was just talking about with regards to having an invocation before the meeting. I think one of the underlying reasons why is because somebody on the board feels like that they can trigger some of us into reacting a specific way. I say amen to that. Because you know what? We're on your game, and we're going to play along with it. So don't be surprised at one of the groups that come in to do an invocation. Don't be surprised at any of the people that come in. Because you know what? We're going to play. And we're going to play, and we're going to outplay you on this. Because the reason why you're doing this is to try to divide us and trigger us. And we're not falling for it. All right? And you'll get to the next one.
Thank you, John. Dave Tross.
Hi there, Dave Trost, Mchenry, 414 North Shepherd Hill Lane. I just wanted to have more of an observation than anything else with regard to the invocation. I find it kind of ironic that the very person who wants to have the invocation is behind a lot of the things that do the most harm to the most vulnerable people in the township. And I just found it to be ironic, and it really fits the definition. Basically, a state of affairs or an event that seems deliberately contrary to what one expects and is often amusing as a result. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Robert Beltram?
Robert Beltran, 2814 Bregner Road, Mchenry, unincorporated Mchenry. I noted that one of the items on the agenda was about taking away family benefits for elected officials for health insurance. And I can't help but wonder what possible rationale there could be for doing that. We're talking about three people who all happen to have run against the sitting trustees, they were political opponents. Is this a political, I'm not up yet, political opponent bashing exercise? It's something that would save, what, pennies per household? I mean, you know, I just can't understand the pettiness of such a move. It can only do harm to specific people for infinitesimal benefit to the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Mary Ann Piker?
Mary Ann Piker. I reside at 1713 Tall Tree Lane in Johnsburg. And I just wanted to make a few comments about what I read in the paper about consolidating the township, eliminating the township and consolidating with Mchenry. If that goes on the ballot in March without a study being done, my fear is we're going to have like a Brexit type thing here, where people are going to be voting on something that they don't understand what they're voting for. And I don't know where we're at with making that decision on that, but I just wanted to express how I feel about that. I think it definitely needs to be studied. I don't know how long ago a letter was sent to the universities that were listed. I know Northern, I believe UVI Champaign, UVI Chicago, there were several, and they didn't even get responses. And I'm kind of thinking maybe, was it a time frame issue or what? They just looked at it and said, you guys are asking for something that is just not possible, and why even bother? I think taking a step back before you make such a big move and consolidate, understand what you're getting into and do it the right way. Get the study done, tell the public what it's going to be and what kind of services are going to be eliminated or changed so that they can make an educated decision when they go in the voting polls. And that's it.
Thank you, Mary. Dorothea King?
Good evening, I'm Dorothea King at 2011 Clinton Court in Mchenry. The definition of invocation: the summoning of a deity or the supernatural. An incantation used to invoke a deity or the supernatural. There's nothing wrong with any of that, and I hope we all appreciate all the many, 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 many diverse religions, or as the Defense Department calls them, faith and belief systems that exist in our community. The Defense Department recognizes 221 religions or faith and belief systems. I hope we appreciate and welcome all of the people who will demand to be coming. Nearly once a month in the newspaper, there's an article about a governmental body who is in trouble because of their lack of diversity in their invocations which open a meeting, and we have so many things to discuss here and so many costs in the legal courts for McHenry Township. I hope this doesn't become one of them, because we will be welcoming Satanists, Muslims, Sufis, heathens, and also, in addition to that, government cemeteries include over 75 different allowed symbols for 75 different religions, also known as faith and belief systems, including that of no religion. And thank you.
Thank you, Dorothea. This Rhonda, is it Sporia? Sporal?
Yes, how you doing?
Very good, thank you.
I came in late and do apologize for that. I live here in McHenry, Rhonda Sparrow. I got a text from Julie Thomas. I'm wondering if I can be part of it. Is that allowed? Okay, she lives in Wonder Lake.
It's part of public comment, you certainly can.
Okay, I might take away some of the stuff that, she is concerned about the senior service they are trying to take away. Reading in the paper lately and seeing all that extra road work being done because of the weather and what a great job our workers are doing as one of our trustees say, by the township employees are only doing their jobs in exchange for votes. I would like to know what votes. I would also like to thank the township for loaning me a shower chair and a razor for my toilet seat that she can be used after surgery and then returning after she no longer needs them by dissolving the township. You are dissolving a community, not political parties. Please and thank you. I have to say, I didn't read this until I got here also. Speaking for myself as somebody that is a senior citizen and having a little bit more mobility problems that I probably have to have surgery, I'm also, it's going to be my foot that is driving. I'm going to have to rely on services that the senior services provide, and this scares me that you want to take something away that is helpful to the majority of the people in this county, in this area, are seniors. We are going to be using that and going to need the services more and more. And for somebody that has been to the senior center, I don't see why anybody would want to get rid of the services that are nearby, easy to get to, and so helpful. This is talking from experience and also dealing with a mother that has Alzheimer's, and with me getting less mobility and me dealing with 87-year-old woman with Alzheimer's that don't even remember doctor's instructions from 10 minutes ago, that I have to go over and over and then hide stuff on her so she doesn't disobey the doctors. They kind of help me keep my mentality so I don't lash out, because sometimes I just want to shake her. And people at the senior service are so beneficiary to me. So I don't know why you want to take something away, and it has been, from what I understand, it's not going to be a savings, it's going to be more money. Maybe you get that 10%, which is not that much of the township, but then it's probably going to be more money next year. You haven't shown us, you had a long time you were trying to get rid of the township.
Your time is up now, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So now we're going to move on to approve the minutes. A would be review of the regular Mchenry Township Board meeting minutes on October 10th, 2019 with changes. So that's open for discussion.
I have no problems with the minutes.
Was it like, what?
I have no problems with the minutes.
If somebody has to make a motion, we get a second to approve it. So, would you like to make a motion, Mike?
I will make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Any discussion?
Is this, any discussion? Is this discussion? It's open for discussion, yes, Steve?
The October 10th minutes are marked revised. So what is the part that has been revised? Is that the red letter?
Yes.
And what prompted those revisions?
What prompted the changes?
Yeah.
You.
No, I'm only responsible for the one on page 2. What prompted all the other changes?
Your microphone, please.
What prompted the other changes?
You had more than one. You had 2 or 3, I believe.
Well, go to page 4. I had nothing to do with that. So why was that revised?
I wouldn't have revised something that wasn't requested to be revised.
Okay, so who requested the revision?
I'd have to go back and look at the records.
Same thing for page 6.
I think page 6 might have been about that.
Look, this has got to stop, these comments.
Yeah. Jim, you're not part of the board, so keep your comments to yourself.
Trying to help you out, that's all.
Page 6, Bob requested.
So is there an answer for that on page 6? What prompted the revisions on page 6?
There was only two of you that made any suggestion for revising else. You, and I believe you mentioned 2 or 3 things, and Bob Anderson. So if it wasn't you, it has been Bob Anderson.
Well,
Page 6 was Bob.
I can assure you, I never made any comments about John McCredo, or
That
what
was
was
Bob.
written.
Bob requested page 6. He wanted the calendar, holiday calendar added, and he wanted John Credo's comments added. Did you not on the board? What?
Any more discussion? So I'll call for a vote. I'll just start with you, Mike.
Yes.
Bob, talking to the mic.
Oh, yeah, okay. Bob Anderson, yes? Dan?
I approve the minutes.
No. They don't conform to Robert's Rules of Orders, which I thought we were in.
Do you have who made the motion, Dan?
No, you do. There was, the vote was,
3 to 1.
3 to 1, motion carries.
That approval was for the minutes on A. Now for B, we have review of the regular Mchenry Township Board meetings held on November 20th, 2019. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Or discussion, please? If no discussion, call the vote. Steve?
No.
Dan?
Yes.
Bob Anderson, yes. Mike?
Yes.
Mike, use your mic.
Yes.
3-1.
That's 3 yeas, 1 nay, motion carries.
C, review of the amended budget and appropriations hearing for the town fund held on November 20th, 2019. Have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to accept the amended budget for the town fund on November 20th.
Steve, do you want some discussion on that?
Well,
Second, yeah, we're trying to get a second. Steve, do you want to make a second?
Do you have a copy of it? Yes, you have a copy of it?
The amended budget?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, you got it.
I'm still waiting for a second.
Second.
Okay. So now I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call a vote on it. Stan?
Yes.
Bob Anderson, yes. Mike?
Yes.
Steve?
No, and for the same reason, they're not in conformance with Robert's Rules of Order, which are supposed to govern the keeping of the minutes, and what the minutes are, and what they consist of.
You got the vote? 3-1? Dan? Or Dan?
Oh, yeah. 3 yeas, 1 nay, motion carries.
Now I've got D, review of the executive session minutes.
Microphones, guys.
There's none at this time. So I got, for the receipts of the bills in the town fund, I've got that. We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 12th day of December 2019 examined and audit the amounts due with the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorize payment of the same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $30,000, $725.73. Total bills paid prior to audit, $39,808.58. Total to be approved, $70,000, $614.31. Total receipts, $8,083.78. I moved to accept the receipts and pay the bills for the town fund.
Second.
Roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Bob Anderson, yes. Dan?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Now we need a motion approval of the receipts for the general road and bridge fund.
We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have, on this 12th day of December 2019, examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached, and hereby authorize payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $46,244.23. Total bills paid prior to audit, $18,025.13. Total to be approved, $64,269.36. Total receipts, $63,185.98. I make a motion that we accept the receipts and pay the bills for the general road and bridge.
Second.
Discussion. I just have a question on the Illinois Public Works Mutual Aid Network. It's for some kind of dues or a membership. And there isn't any explanation as to what it is. It's not even due until January 31st, the bill.
Mr. Anderson, Trustee Anderson, can I be recognized?
I would like to recognize them because I cannot answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you. The Diplomat, Illinois Public Works Mutual Assistance, is an organization that we belong to. It serves a good portion of the state. There's many members. The purpose of it is, for belonging to it, is if there's a disaster somewhere, or, for instance, tornado hits a certain area, or flooding hits a certain area, you can call Diplomat, and the other municipalities that are members of that group will then send assistance to your area to help you out in those situations. It's been done through areas where tornadoes or the areas like that, where there's been a lot of down trees and damage. We've sent people with the chipper and the bucket truck to help out. Flooding, we've helped people fill sandbags and deliver sandbags and things like that in flooding situations, things like that. So it's an organization that helps other communities. So it's a minimal fee, and it's really just covers their costs to help them organize when it's needed. So.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Have a roll call vote. Steve, here?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Bob Anderson, yes. Mike?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Now it's up to you, Stan.
Permanent Hard Road Fund. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $13,871.54. Total bills paid prior to audit, $11,990.28. Total to be approved, $25,861.82. Total receipts, $56,703.46. I will make a motion to accept the receipts and pay the bills.
I have one comment on it, and this will be to you, Jim. On invoice number...
We need a second.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I need a second first, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. One question to you, Jim. There was an invoice number 11804. It was on 11/15/19 for about Ringwood. There's an invoice amount for $77,062. What was involved with that?
That was, if you remember, last year, we went and we had a repaving of the entire Ringwood Road from Route 120 all the way past South Solon Road. And that is the bill for that. They finally finished the paperwork and billed us for our portion of that pavement project.
Thank you. Anybody else have any discussion, questions? Okay, I'll call a vote. Mike Rickstraw?
Yes.
Bob Anderson, yes. Stan?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Motion carried. No, there's no fund transfers. So now we're to new business. A, review the proposed 2019 Mchenry Township Levy Ordinance number 191212A or number 191212B, collectible in 2020. Can I have a motion for that?
I guess I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion.
I have a second.
I also have to point out that this levy has to be approved by the end of this month. I mean, we can't put this off for another month. It has to be dealt with today.
Well, we have, I think it's the second Tuesday, the second to the last Tuesday of December, isn't it?
It needs to be adopted and filed on the last Tuesday.
Right, so it has to be adopted and filed on the We have last to do Tuesday. something with this today.
If you can, at least if you want to discuss about, Sandy made a motion, was that to accept ordinance 191212A? You have multiple ordinances, or B. Either one. We're looking at that discussion.
Well, I think it's important to get some definitions here.
You want a second so we can discuss it?
Somebody needs to second it.
Well, there's two proposals. The second for what? Which one?
Discuss
Make
the
the
first one.
second, make a second, we'll discuss both of them.
Whatever. Up to you, Stan, you want to make a motion for just the first one?
Well, I made the motion, I can't second it.
No,
You
Sam,
have
but
to
there's,
rephrase your motion and say, make your motion for just the A.
Okay, I'll make a motion just for A, for the levy ordinance. Would anybody second that?
Just so we're clear, A was the original ordinance that was presented. That was a 2-point, do you remember what exactly it was, increase over the prior level?
2.8? 2.8, it was $38,000.
It could have been, it's $38,000, I
Right.
knew that. I don't remember the percentage. It was a $38,000 increase.
Right.
No, I'm making a
Still need a
second.
second.
Huh?
Still need a second.
Want a second, Mike? Well, I'll second, so we got a discussion. So,
I have a question, I don't understand the difference between the A and the B. Two different issues here,
well, there's different numbers.
right, yeah.
Well, that's the difference.
Well, that doesn't tell me anything.
Jim, do you want to address?
sure, there's two different ordinances, A and B. They both, relative to the general assistance fund, remain the same. The only issue was regarding the town fund. One of the requests was, can we have an ordinance that's flat, or those mandated items out? My understanding is the senior bus, that money is out of it, and to go to a flat levy, which would be consistent with the levy that was last year, which was $1,285,000. Now, for purposes of the record, the levy ordinance A is actually 2.718 more than last year's levy. So what happens is, in order to under the property tax limitation code, it's more than 5%, you have to do what is called a black box and publish it and have a hearing. Since it's less than that, you don't need to do that, and that's what's here before the board right now. What does 2.718 mean relative to the township is that that's a request from the previous years that they're asking for an increase. Now, I do caution the board though, because in the packet as well presented from Debbie that was included, there was some calculations, and I think one of the issues was the town had asked, how much do we have in funds? What do we have for sources available? And then what does that mean, these monies that we're receiving relative to those funds? And then what does that mean relative to the expenses that are coming forward? Okay, so if you take the levy options that she showed in there and what our town fund resources were, she estimated, whether you're using option A or option B, the estimated fund to balance for the town, $1,036,000. $1,036,233. With that said, The estimated budget, which I believe you had for last year, was $2,408,000. And with available funds, let's say even 2 million, and then you even, let's say, trimmed it back up to $1.9 million from a budget, theoretically, you would not be able to survive as a township if you did not pass this levy, because you would be approximately $900,000 short running into next year, just from a non-level passing standpoint. So,
Whoa. Wait a minute. There's $1,791,000 plus in reserve.
as of November 2019, there's $1,791,000 in reserve.
Okay, so why can't the levy be drastically cut and then the reserve is used? The reserve, which is now accumulated to being what, over half of the budget?
Okay, let me keep going. So that's as of today, November of 2019. However, you're still operating on your current budgeting. So you still have December, January, February, and March. And so what that means is, what she's saying is, based on your budget that you approved in July or June, based on the budget you approved in June, and the monies you've spent and plan on spending, come March 31st, 2020, she anticipates you will have $1,036,233 at that point in time. So at that point in time, that's how much you will have. So,
and where is that figure in?
That figure is in your budget packet, I believe at around page 78-ish. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly. It was on page 81, excuse me. On page 81 in the packet, she anticipated at the year end, and I think there's a mistake here. It says estimated year-end balance of 2021. I think it should be 2020. I think it's the wrong number. But the bottom number is $1,036,000 at that point in time.
Does the board receive these packets?
It's in everybody's packets that went out. It should be at page 81. And so,
well, I don't have
Steve, actually that piece of paper that's in front of you, off your left hand, yeah, that one. That's page 81. So,
what are the other 80 pages?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the whole budget packet that was emailed out, which included the minutes and the agendas and all that stuff. So,
well, these pages are numbered, so I'm having trouble trying to figure.
I'm sorry. So I'm looking at this particular document, which you have in front of you, which is called Levy Options for 2020. If you go below that solid line that's going all the way across, the town anticipates at the end of March 31st, 2020, to have $1,036,233. Okay. Now, with that said, and we will discuss the fact that we're not very big fans of the way the levying and the budgeting process goes, because now we have to then budget for the upcoming year and while you're also levying as well. And with that said is, previous year, meaning 2019, this year, you've budgeted $2,408,000. So you'll get another chance at budgeting again come June of 2020. You'll probably head to budgeting meetings in April and May, but even if you were to cut your budget from $2.4 million to $1.9 million, so if you cut it by $500,000 from the previous year, you still are short $900,000. You don't have $900,000 of new money coming in. So what I'm trying to say is that you need to pass this levy one way or the other, because you will not have the money in order to fund through 2020. So with that said, what does that mean? Meaning going forward. So the recommendation is going to be to pass the ordinance A, and the reason why I will tell you that is because that is levying for $1,324,748 for your town fund, which would give you $2,360,000. So March 30th money plus your $1,324,000, you have $2.3 million. Now, what does that mean? So you got $2.4 million last year in the budget. This year, if you can cut it by $500,000, you'll be down to $1.9 million. You'll only have $460,000 in reserves. And if you spend $150,000, $180,000 a month in dollars, Debbie, am I off on that? $150,000? Okay. You're probably going to have about 3 to 4 months of reserve dollars. So this board is going to need to take a serious look come 2020 budgeting period to look at matching the revenues that are coming in to the budget, because this township has been in a basically spending the reserve dollars in order to get those reserve dollars down. And you've done a great job of getting those reserve dollars down, but now you're at the end of that time period.
Well, maybe there's an overstaffing going on in the township.
I'm not addressing any of that, but
Well, I am addressing it.
You're not? This is.
So if the levy's cut, they'll just have to make do with what it is.
No.
what I would suggest, my suggestion would be in order to fund, you're gonna be short, you're living.
We're talking about funding an existing level, okay? Whoever said that was an option?
You don't have the funds to fund at the existing levels, is what I'm saying. So that's not an option. I mean, but what I'm saying is, in order to get through this patch period, what I'm suggesting is you're in a patch right now, you should adopt either A or B. You're very close in dollars, and pass that tonight, and then as a board really evaluate in the budgeting process the needs of the township.
What does B represent compared to last year?
It is a flat, no increase, bare bones, get through what it needs to get through. So it's exactly what it was last year that was levied and made available without any additional money.
So the difference between A and B is $38,000.
Correct. And you may not think 38,000 is a lot of money, but when you're gonna run through 3.5, you're only have 3.5 reserve months left. It becomes meaningful money. So what I suggest is when you get to that budgeting process, you really look at that next budgeting process and evaluate the township expenses.
Then, Jim, are you saying that from my end of it point of view, I think we should be looking at just funding the 3 mandated states. So are you saying that should be dealt with at the budget process?
Yes.
As opposed to levy process?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Why?
Because the budgeting process is the process by which you are going to say, we are going to approve the ability to spend monies on things that we believe that are worth the township spending money on. The levy is the ability then to fund those things that you've now committed to. And what I'm suggesting to you is, we're going to be behind the 8 ball if we don't figure out a way to get some money into the township, because we've already over-committed right now for the amounts going forward into 2020. And again, my recommendation is, I would suggest passing the levy and really take a hardline look at what you want to budget going forward. Fund going forward in the future.
In the future, like June, is that what you're
I
saying?
don't understand what you mean by overcommitted.
What I mean is, for example, we're at $1 million. Steve, you made an excellent point. Hey, we have $1,791,000. You're absolutely correct, but that's today as of November 2019. Because of because and commitments the township has made from and through the rest of the budgeting process, you're going to spend another $700,000 in the next few months, all the way up through March. And so, if I had a snapshot and I could say, okay, don't do anything like that, then that would, you'd have those dollars to possibly work with. But what I'm suggesting is, if you've got commitments now.
So you're saying we've received everything you're going to receive in the county treasurer?
Correct.
That is correct. That is correct. So there's
And when was that last installment made?
November 28th was the last installment, I believe, but that's been finalized and sent back to the
And there's not another installment coming in March?
Not until June.
which is based on
The Levy.
that,
That's based on prior years. They usually start the first installment around June.
so, but what, my point though, and Deb, correct me if I'm wrong,
It's based on whatever we levy and what the county approves of that worksheet.
okay, but what I'm saying is that if I look at this sheet, and if I'm saying this right, correct me if I'm wrong, at the end of March, the township will only have $1,036,000, approximately.
Possibly, yes.
Approximately.
That's what we're figuring if everything's
Okay.
right.
Now,
What is possibly?
We're basing it on what was budgeted.
assuming
what we
those
have
dollars
this
are
year.
spent
Right.
as budgeted for.
There may be some
contracts.
rollover, but I don't know how much that would be.
In the $1,324,478 is a number that includes,
That's the first one, I believe.
the first one. And
So the
then-
board is just supposed to rubber stamp what was done in prior years? Okay.
No.
Maybe there should be some layoffs. That would definitely decrease the expenditures.
We do that in the budget.
So, again, I would encourage the board to approve the levy tonight, whether it's A or B, but not make any drastic cuts, number one. Number two, as far as going forward and looking at where those mandated pieces are, look at that in the budgeting process.
So your recommendation is not to make any drastic cuts, but what about
No,
non-drastic?
No, I'm saying, my recommendation is to go with A. My recommendation is to go with A.
Which is an increase over the last year.
You're gonna need every bit of that to fund the monies that you're short. You're actually short. You're short by $900,000.
But we're still gonna have $1 million left.
You won't. You won't. You'll actually have only $460,000. Well, if come budgeting process, this board says, you know what, we're gonna take a hard look at the budget and we're gonna cut it. Great. And if you only cut it by $500,000, you will only have $460,000 left, approximately 3 to 4 months of reserves. And that's assuming $500,000 cut.
From prior budget.
Right. So, again, my point is, I would strongly encourage A, but if you had to do anything, and there was a decision making, then at the very least do B. But if the board really wants to take a hardline look at where their expenses are, and what you're funding and what you're not funding, the levy time is not to do it, it's to do it at the budget time.
Debbie, can you explain what you meant by the 2.9 versus the 3.1 differential that we discussed in your office
The what?
before the meeting tonight? The two possibilities.
What we budgeted this past year was 2 point, what did I say it was? I have to remember.
3.1 down to 2.
No, I think it was 2.4 to 2.1. Hold on, let me find out. I don't know if I have those much sheets. The budget, I want to say it was 2.4. We were looking at 2.1. In your board packet.
Where's your gavel?
Down.
I need a gavel. It's all for show.
Here. All right, we were looking at here. So we took this 1.7, but I didn't take, see when I was looking at this, I did not see that at the end. This is the end of November. We should have made this 1.0. So that actually be 2.3. We weren't taking what it would be at the end of this year, because we still have 4 more months to spend down. This is just what is there as of November. 1.7. So if you take 1.7 and we do the 1.3, you're gonna end up with 2.3. Our budget last year was 2.4, we'll have to bring it down.
To what?
Well, we're gonna have to work on that during the budget. So, on this here, I said 1.9, okay, to give us that 3 months. Now, do we look at it even more? We do that during the budget, you may be able to bring it down more.
So we're just building up reserves again.
Actually, you don't, you'll have 3 months of reserves when, it's recommended to have 12 to 18.
It's recommended by who? I mean, all these figures, man, it's just bloated government. Okay? You get more, the whole system is backwards. The budget should be first and then the levies. It's,
My opinion here is, I don't think the board is ready to pass a budget with an increase. So, I would be perfectly happy to pass the B budget with the flat. That's my proposal. I would accept that.
Do you want to,
You want to withdraw your first motion?
then you have to withdraw your first one and
Then
go
I-
on to B.
Well, yes, then I'll withdraw my first motion and make a motion to pass the B budget, which is a flat budget.
When you say budget, you mean levy.
The levy,
Levy,
the levy,
yes.
the levy.
Yeah, sorry.
Is there a second?
The second,
No.
withdraw the second.
You made the second. You have to, you made the second
Yeah.
originally. So you have to
I have
withdraw
to-
that second. and
I have to
then-
withdraw my second. No, I did not. No, I didn't do anything with the first one. So I withdraw my second on the first motion. So now you're on B.
I'm on B.
Okay.
Accept the flat, we have to pass something today.
no, we don't.
Yes, we do.
We don't.
Yes, we do.
You just told me we don't have to do it, we got 2 more weeks.
We're not gonna have another meeting for another month.
Then we'll have a special meeting. This should have all been done in September and October, okay?
Where were you?
You had a month to look at the levy.
Yeah, it was wrong. Well, all right, Jim, why don't we cut it by more than,
Let me second Stan's motion, then we have a discussion. So I'll second Stan's motion for B.
A flat levy, which most other communities, I saw in a newspaper, most other communities are having the flat levies. Let's just stay with that. I think the taxpayers would be happy.
wow.
If you keep it flat, and with the projected balance in March of 1,036,000, and you keep the levy flat, this board, in order to get to a zero balance, meaning no reserve funds, you would have to reduce your budget from last year by at least $80,000, just to get to a no reserve funds.
That's very easily accomplished.
My point is A is not gonna pass for this board, so we have to take the second best option. That's my point.
I would say a levy 10% cut in a minimum. What would a 10% cut mean, Mr. Lodell?
If you cut it by 10%, it'd be $120,000 cut. Keep in mind that you will have literally you will have no reserves, in addition to whatever you're planning in the budgeting process. You're then already behind the 8 ball because you now do not have, you have to even reduce that $120,000 even less. Again, my recommendation is don't do it the levy time. If there's issues regarding the budget, take it at the budget time and then address the issue, because you're still going to have to address the issue of the funding, because you're still going to be short, even if you dropped it by, let's say you took it from 2.4 million, which it was, to 1.8 million, or 1.5 million for that matter. Let's say you get it to 1.5 million. You're still gonna be short because you're still only collecting $1.4 million. So so until you can get the budget down $1 million, you're gonna be short. You're pulling from your funds. Until you get the budget down $1 million, you will be pulling from reserve funds. And you will be out of reserve funds very quickly, depending on what's passed tonight.
Well, then maybe the supervisor should make some cuts.
But I think what he's saying is so that we already passed the budget with the money in there, and you can't take it out of there.
And what's the point of even having a board?
No, here's what I think, Steve, is that, well, what I'm hearing is that it's gonna be at the budget where we take a look at the mandated services, and take that stuff out of there.
They've got all, you asked for mandated and unmandated, right? Two levies.
I asked for an option, I never asked, I talked about that, okay, but I never got into the levy option, and now my understanding of it though is that part of it would have to be brought up at the budget session, and bring it up, and go from there, and then from what Jim is saying here is, then the levy would be set to pay for the mandated services.
That is correct. That is correct. And without really looking at that, you could be putting yourselves in jeopardy by not passing the levy, because your mandated services could be, quite honestly, more than $1 million, more than $1.2 million.
How can that be if there's 1.7 in reserve as of today?
Again, those dollars are going to be expended between now and March, and so then you'll be down to $1 million, and then you'll have whatever.
No, wait a minute, it's only one more quarter in a month, right?
You have
So-
December, January, February, March.
So why would $1 million plus have to be expended?
There's like $700,000.
It's a $3 million budget, correct?
No,
No.
it's 2.4.
Well, including the reserves. Okay, sorry. That are there they're there going forward every year.
Well, you don't have reserves going forward anymore.
Third left, right? It's 2.4 and you have a third left.
Right.
So you would think it would be around 800,000. You have a 2.4 budget and divide it by a third of the year that's left, that's $800,000. And we're saying we have 700,000 left in the budget. So it's not off.
No, it's off by $700,000.
How?
It's in the ballpark.
Look, the ballpark, nobody even knows what these figures represent, okay? It's all business as usual, let's stick it to the taxpayer.
What do you mean?
We should have gotten this levy ordinance 2 months ago. I realize Mr. Adams is disabled for the moment, but this should have been done in September.
Well, he even said at the last meeting, Steve, he's gonna move it up. He realizes that we should have been dealing with this before this, there's no question about that.
Yeah, so now everybody's got a revolver to our head. We have to pass it, we have to pass it. The world will come to an end. The supervisor can take immediate actions in cutting expenses. Okay?
Well, that comes out in the budget process, not in the.
No, it isn't the budget process. We're doing it now. We're basically doing the budget process now. We're asking the people to be taxed for a set amount. Okay? I'm saying no. Reduce it.
There's a second, we should take a vote on this. Or we're gonna talk about it all night.
You have any discussion, Mike? Call the question?
Yes.
Okay. So, repeat, the motion is.
I make
the
a motion
the flat one.
to accept the ordinance 191212-B for a flat budget for the levy.
Why can't the levy be cut 5%?
Let's have
a vote.
Yeah.
Mike?
Reluctantly, I will vote with
Steve? Yes, you're voting yes?
Thank you, thank you.
Steve, I'm gonna vote yes for this year too, so that we can deal with this. My main concern is looking at how we fund the mandated services, and I've heard the attorney say that we can definitely deal with that I think in June. Is June when we deal with that?
No, we'll be dealing with it in March.
You'll be working on it come May. April, May.
Yeah. Well, we start working on the budget,
No,
Steve.
why April, May? Why can't we do it right away?
You could.
Well, we could do that.
You could.
If
I
that-
mean, you could,
that's
you
not a
could do it in
problem.
anticipation, yeah. I mean,
Then we're up against another deadline, okay?
You could do it in March or April. That's fine. I mean, the sooner you start anticipating, it just needs to be done by the first quarter of the fiscal year.
So, should we put it in the record, Steve, to have us start in March?
No, I think we should start in January.
We started in January last year.
You already voted.
Started again in January last year.
Stand vote? Yeah.
We're in the middle of a vote here. Yeah, we already had a discussion, right?
Yes.
Sure.
We're having it now.
So, okay, so I'm voting on the flat levy, on B. So I vote yes for B.
And I vote yes.
Or we're taking a vote now?
Yes.
You did.
No, okay, absolutely not.
Okay.
Dan, 3-1, call the vote.
So the clerk, yeah.
Motion passes.
Motion passed, it was 3-1.
I know.
3 ayes, 1 nay, motion carries.
Good day for the taxpayer, a flat levy. Who could argue with it? Who could argue with it?
I'll argue with it. It's too much. It's too darn much. No, the taxpayers don't have to pay anymore. There's so much waste in this township.
But
It's
you wanted,
ridiculous.
but you wanted a special meeting that costs money too?
We can work on that on the budget areas. We can look at every dollar item under next year's budget. This is the wrong time.
No, it isn't the wrong time.
Yes, it is.
We're gonna move on. Under B, discussion of starting the monthly board meeting with invocation. Is there a motion for this?
Yeah, motion to have it.
Is there a second?
No invocation. Is there a second to the invocation? As Mr. Militello will tell you, it's perfectly legal. The Supreme Court ruled on it about 5 years ago. Correct?
I'll second it for discussion.
Now, what's the problem? Everybody's afraid Satanists are gonna come out?
They're already here.
Oh, you're right about that. You're right about that, Mr. Aylward. They most definitely are.
We do the Pledge of Allegiance at every meeting, and in that allegiance, God is mentioned. I mean, isn't that enough?
Look, Congress itself begins every day's business with prayer.
Mr. Anderson, probably.
No.
Say yes.
No, you are not a member of the board, so you're out of it.
I was just gonna recommend that Mr. Ver would explain why he thought it was important, that's all. So we all understood.
I would like to hear that too, yeah. Why is it important? Maybe convince us.
Did you say something, Dan?
Yeah, I was thinking out loud. To make yourself look good, that's the reason.
Dan, stay on the conversation, please.
You need your gavel.
I realize that we live in some strange times where religions thrown out of the public square. That isn't what the framers intended at all. It's been upheld countless times. The public bodies can begin with an invocation. I don't see what the problem is. Everybody's cowed because of some Marxists here in the audience tonight.
The audience, Steve has a right to make his comments here the same way as you have a right to make public comments, so please hold your comments to yourself and let Steve move forward and say what he wants to say. Thank you.
I'm done.
Steve, I admire that you feel very strongly about doing this, but as a believer in Jesus Christ, I do not want to have a Muslim or an atheist or a Buddhist or anybody else get up and make an invocation at our meetings. I just would not feel good about that, so I would be against trying to do this for that reason.
You have comments, Dan?
All I can say is, Steve, I respect your opinion, but I don't think this is the venue for that.
And I'll say the same thing, on the same thing as Mike's line, Steve, as much as I respect your thought of bringing that in there too. But I think that this could really open up something that would be above and beyond what we'd really be comfortable here.
So this is what happens when people are cowed. Okay?
Please, the audience, please stay on the conversation here.
Steve, I'm not a coward. I would easily give my life for Jesus Christ. And, you know, I know that you know that. And I just have a difficult time thinking that I would get up and listen to an atheist or a Satanist or anybody else, and to a God that I do not believe in, and feel good about it. So I'm going to stick with how I am, and it's not because I'm a coward.
Any more comments? Discussion? Then I'll call for a vote.
There was no second.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, Bob did.
Yeah, I second it. Yeah, good. There was a second. I second it.
All right.
Stan?
No.
Mike?
No.
No. For Bob Anderson? Steve?
Yes.
Okay, 3 ayes, 1 nay, motion does
Other way.
not.
Yeah.
Other way.
Failed.
Fail.
3 nays.
Motion failed.
Amen.
Okay, C, discussion of authority for elected township officials, household members, paid health, and all insurance coverages. Do I have a motion?
Motion to remove it, because it was never part of the resolution. The resolution authorizing the compensation and pay for the prior year. This has gone on in several townships all over the state. If people want it, then they gotta pay for it extra. This was never part of the resolution. There never was anything about health insurance for elected
Are you
officials.
making a motion, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get a second. Okay? So Steve made a motion, you want to second it?
I'll second.
Okay. Did you get that, Dan?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead, Steve.
So finally, after a series of requests, I received the resolution for the current board from the clerk. And nowhere in that,
I'm sorry, how many times did you ask me?
I asked you at least 300 times.
No, you did not.
I finally
You asked
wrote
me-
it down.
You asked me once and I gave it to you you
Okay.
asked yesterday, and you got it today. Don't lie.
No, I asked in writing yesterday, and I got it today,
Yeah, and
okay?
you never asked for it before. Stop lying.
You have a memory deficit?
No, you're the one with the memory
Okay,
deficit.
let's-
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, guys.
Okay, so, Mr. Militello, I ask that you examine the resolution.
I was given a copy of the resolution. For purposes of clarification, when a compensation is set, it needs to be done at least 180 days before the beginning of the office. So if this board wants to make changes to the new board, you'd have to do it 180 days.
I'm not talking about the past, the current one. I'm talking about what was done last year.
I'm looking at one that
I'm
says
sorry.
October 14th, 2016.
Okay.
This is not done on every year, Steve. This will go back.
Right.
Yeah, so.
The last board term.
Yeah, so this was done, so my recommendation is that there's nothing that this board can do regarding the compensation and the compensation structure of the elected officials at this time. If this board wants to do something relative to the compensation structure of the township officers, going forward, they must do it at least 180 days prior to that time, before they begin the terms of their office.
All I'm asking is where you can show me in the 2016 resolution where these insurances were paid as part of the compensation. And they're nowhere to be found.
Section 2, there's discussion regarding health insurance and life insurance.
For household members? No.
I have a question. We're talking about just 3 people here, or elected officials? We're talking 3 people, right?
Yeah, I'm talking.
But Steve's got a question. We'll hold that back.
Right.
Steve's got a question to see if it's in there.
Yeah, it is, and it isn't.
He deserves an answer.
It says same health insurance, life insurance, IMR for retirement plan, etc., all other full-time employees, including employee paid premiums. That's what it says.
You got a copy of it?
Well, that's going to have to be changed for the next term.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, you can very easily ask that to be on the agenda and deal with it at the next meeting.
Okay, then I do.
Yep. When you say next, you can't do anything relative to this one? You can
No.
do it relative.
But we can do that anytime we want. We can do that now. We could do that for the next election term.
Correct.
And we could have that on the agenda
Correct.
for the January meeting and deal with it.
Correct.
Okay, fine.
So could we have that for an agenda item for the January meeting?
So Steve, what you're asking is that if an elected official wants to extend the health care to his family, he has to pay it out of his own salary.
Yeah, makes an election.
But he's saying it's not going to be paid, he doesn't want it paid for by taxpayers.
But if I can, if I recall, wasn't there a compensation one that was passed by this board after this one?
Yes,
Yes.
but that affects the next board.
And-
Correct,
But I'm not
correct.
so
So
sure, but I'm not
that's
so
the one
sure,
that you're
we
talking
should look
about.
into that. I'm not so sure that dealt with the health part of it.
And that's what I'm saying, is that this board cannot deal with this particular ordinance, which is back in 2016. The ordinance that you adopted, whatever that one is, which I don't have in front of me, that is the one that you're gonna wanna take a look at, because that's the one that affects.
For the next term.
For the next term.
Right,
Correct.
exactly.
Correct. So I don't have a copy of that.
We didn't address those figures.
I don't remember.
We didn't.
But either way, we can get on the
We can
agenda.
do it.
That is a true,
And-
yes.
and,
Yes.
And do you want that with possible action or just discussion?
Possible action.
Okay, did you hear that, Dan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And with that said, I would suggest that you get a copy of it in advance, so you have a chance to look at what that ordinance says.
Now, can you answer my question? How many people are we talking about here? Three people.
Not necessarily,
That would be
I think
the-
it's 4.
Yeah, it's 4.
4?
It's 4 elected officials.
Yes.
That would be on that program.
Okay.
Clerk, assessor, supervisor, and highway commissioner.
That is correct.
Okay, I'd like to move on to D. Discussion of authority and funding sources, continuing operation of the Mchenry Township Senior Bus Service after the township resolution that the bus service was to be terminated on November 30th, 2019. It's for discussion and possible action. Someone want to make a motion here?
Yeah. Motion to terminate any further funding of that program. And we have the whole problem of non-insurance.
I'll second the motion. So it's open for discussion.
It seems to me that until these policies are examined, that for the very reason why the PACE officials said they do not go into people's homes and up personal driveways is because of the liability. It seems that we apparently do not have insurance for any of that. Therefore, it shouldn't be done. Now, that begs the question of from what fund this $100,000 was transferred. That's never been presented to the board. The board voted to terminate a program. The board, which is the Congress of the township with the purse strings. And it was all thwarted. So where is this $100,000 coming from? Mr. Adams said it's coming from an outside source. So what is the outside source? It seems to me it's coming out of the township again. And I want answers about that. Where is the money coming from? Do we have proper insurance? I'd ask Mr. Militone to talk about his attempts, his many attempts, to get to the bottom from Torma, how much the buses cost. Because it seemed preposterous to me at the time, and it still does, that for $5 million of coverage per incident with those buses, handling disabled and elderly people, the township was charged $200 a bus on an annual basis to provide that insurance. Insurance which apparently doesn't cover what the Senior Express does differently from PACE, which is going up into people's homes. So, what about that?
I don't see Debbie here anymore. I think she's the only one here that could actually.
No, Mr. Militello's tried repeatedly to get to the bottom of it and can't get it.
Would you know where the $100,000, how they came to fund that?
Yeah, let's go to
It's in your package.
two questions. The first one regarding the $100,000. Going to the one sheet that Debbie had put together was that levy options for 2020, which was this document. So anyways, in that particular document, it had the $1,791,000 at the end of November. If you see that at the very, right above that, it said less bus transfer, elector's request. So that was the $100,000 that was then pulled out. So at the end of November, you would have had
pulled out of where?
It would have been pulled out from the town funds from monies that were not derived from township tax levies. So the electors
reserves,
dollars that the township had that were in reserves that were generated from non-levying events, and as a result, the electors passed a referendum, or they passed a petition, and it was voted on, and they granted $100,000 to be put towards this program. As a result, that $100,000 comes off the total funds that are available for resources. So you see that $100,000 less than.
So this is just another example of how the reserves have.
So you would have had 1.8 million, 1,891, but that 100,000 was designated for the senior bus as per the electors. Now, again, that's per the dollars that were then set aside. Debbie then put those funds to be set for the senior program, and then they run through the time period of March 31st, I understand. As to the insurance part, I did, and I have repeatedly attempted to contact the insurance company regarding that, and they did provide, and you're absolutely correct, some amazing numbers regarding the cost of insurance for the various vehicles. And they said, Jim, there are three 2017 8-passenger vans valued at $71,597, and the cost of each one of those would be approximately $237 a year for insurance. The 2017 Chevrolet 12-passenger bus valued at $72,000 is approximately $233 per year. And then the Ford truck, which is the 2018 7-passenger van, which is $42,737, is $155. Now, I'm sure most of the constituents sitting out there saying, I wish I had insurance that great, which I don't blame you. Those are
The town's just being fiscally responsive.
And those are the amounts of,
Jim, you had no business getting in the conversation.
and those are the amounts that the insurance company is providing now. Why can they do that is probably because they're probably providing for a larger policy, including an umbrella policy for the township, which pays several thousands and thousands of dollars, which is then covered each year. So they've allocated that portion for whatever reason to the township bus. I can't speak for the other townships, but at least that's what she's quoted for us.
So we were given false information during the budgeting process, because these amounts do not match what we were told.
I'm not sure. I'm looking at the numbers as to each vehicle. I think they were saying it was anywhere between a couple $1,000s for the insurance on the end of the buses. So I'm not sure.
No, it was $1,000. But these are common carriers, okay?
So
this isn't like Miss Mahady's assessors, automotives getting insured. They're carrying elderly and disabled people. They're, as a common carrier, that's an entirely separate line of insurance.
It's approximately $2,000.
We were told it was $1,000.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just done with it.
Okay, so how much of the umbrella policy goes over the bus service? Because when we asked for a definitive amount, how much things cost, we weren't asking for.
The umbrella policy, I believe, it was up to $5 million. There was an issue that I thought they quoted, it said $3 million, but you were paying when you had a $5 million number off the top of my head. But again, those were the amounts that was provided to me this last week. This month.
Well, what about the actual coverage? Is the township insured going up into people's driveways and bringing in groceries into people's homes?
That's a question that I'm asking the insurance company. We have a policy in place that covers the township in the event of a problem. It's the umbrella part of it. The specific requirements of doing that, they're going to be covered, but again, it's going to be a question of whether or not going forward, if that's a item that's going to be continued, whether or not it'll be written in as an additional rider piece. But it would be, again, considered if the township had an issue, address it under a general liability.
I think we have an issue. I think maybe we should ask a representative to come in from Torma.
I think
that would, I think
that would be very appropriate.
I don't. I suppose I should probably ask them to get that on the. I think the sooner we get to that, the better off we are. Because I just kind of question how we're insuring those buses with high-risk people on it for just a couple $100. There's something that seems to be missing there. So I'd like to have on the agenda for the January meeting that if we can, to get a representative come from Torma, and we'll ask those questions, and I'll feel much more comfortable if we have somebody from that company come and ask the questions, Steve.
Well, if they even know what we're doing here. Okay. If they knew, if they were provided anything from the supervisor or anybody else in the township as to what the extent of the services were.
Well, since I've been on the board, there's been no representative come from Torma. I know Supervisor Adams said, well, that's what the cost is. He seems to be comfortable with it. But let's have a representative come in and say our questions and get the answers.
Great. Let me get this straight. So we're getting a deal on insurance.
No, we don't know what we're insured for.
We're getting a deal on insurance, so we want somebody to come over here and tell us that we're not paying enough, we should pay more.
No, we're trying to find out what we're really covered for.
My concern is we're not really covered. I want to make sure that they come in and say, we are covered. When you have a van out with high-risk people out for $2 or $3 a year, that's very questionable to me.
But it was never questioned before, and there were never any.
Yeah, because finally we have a board that questions things, okay? Like we were elected to
But
do.
there were never any
Not to
lawsuits.
be bothered.
There were never any lawsuits.
So what? This is all preempted.
Stan, if I could answer your question. Wouldn't it be better to be knowledgeable about what's actually happened than having something happen and then find out that we're not covered?
Okay, that makes sense.
That's what we're
Yeah,
looking
but
at.
now all right.
Somebody comes in.
I'm gonna shut up now.
You don't have to.
Well, this question was specifically asked the PACE representative, who said the liability for that would be way too much and we won't do it. Okay?
We've been through this before.
Yeah, and it's never been answered.
I thought it has been answered.
Okay. Well, it's on the agenda for next month if we can get somebody here. If not, the month after that. Okay? That was D, right?
You have an open motion.
So now we're on E.
I withdraw the motion. Given what.
There was no action on that motion. It was for information only. There's no possible action, right? According to
No, it says discussion, no. This discussion
there's
is
no action.
right here.
Well,
This is possible.
Oh, possible action. I didn't see that.
well, we'll put that on the agenda for the next time, too. Possible action to terminate the program on the basis of no coverage.
It's good with me. Okay. So E, discussion of the adoption of written standardized format for all future Mchenry Township elected officials' employee expense reimbursement. That's for discussion and possible action. Do I have a motion, please?
That was my motion, and Debbie gave me a copy of what they're actually using now. So I withdraw the motion. I'll work on improving it and submit that to the board for consideration at a future meeting. So I withdraw that.
Okay, thank you.
And F, that wasn't an agenda item requested by me.
So then we'll go over that, forget it. So I'm gonna go to old business.
F. You gotta go to F.
Steve just mentioned, he said that.
No, that was E.
No, Steve just said that he didn't, that shouldn't be on there.
He did, I have it in writing.
You have it in writing from me?
No, not from you, when we were on the
Okay.
phone.
I would
and
never
read it back.
have asked that for that to be put on the agenda.
Yes, you wanted to talk about that because you
I thought
didn't
we're
think
talking
that,
about E.
Fred.
That wasn't an
this
agenda
meeting
item.
info-
That wasn't an agenda item.
So what happened to E?
That was, we were discussing the legality of it, you and me. I did not ask it to be put on the agenda. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, old business, A, discussion of the approval of the intergovernmental agreement between the county of Mchenry and Mchenry Township. Discussion and possible action. Can I have a motion, please? I'll make that motion.
Well, who put this on the agenda to start with?
This is a continuation from last month, if you
All
remember.
right, when does it have to be agreed to?
Can I have a second? Then we have discussion.
Second.
Steve, second that. Dan.
Steve.
Question,
that's
Steve?
being brought back with all the pages that
Oh,
are in the
okay,
packet
right.
and the article.
Okay.
If you recall, as a board,
Yeah.
the only one on this thing was the $3,600. That was an additional charge we talked to them as well as the state's attorney's office. That item specifically removed from the agreement. So this agreement is as was presented to the board last time, with the removal of the additional item of this service cost of $3,600. And as far as the time period, I believe they wanted to have it signed last month, but we can do it this month because the agreement starts as of January 1st, 2020. So that's what the question
It
is
needs
last
to
time.
be approved this month,
Understood.
by the end of the month, then we're trying to agree.
Any more discussion? I'll call for a vote. Steve?
Yes.
Dan?
I don't understand what we're voting on.
The motion is to approve the McRide agreement. It's an intergovernmental agreement between the county of Mchenry, the city of Crystal Lake, the city of Harvard, the city of Marengo, the city of Mchenry, the city of Woodstock, the village of Fox River Road, the village of Hebron, the village of Huntley, the village of Johnsburg, the village of Richmond, the village of Ringwood, the village of Union, the township of Albany, the township of Dorr, the township of Grafton, the township of Greenwood, the township of Marengo, the township of McHenry, the township of Nunda, the township of Richmond, and the township of Riley for the provisions of the Ride Dial Ride transit service for the 2020 year.
This is on the packet. I think our cost like $7,000. Is that what it was?
The total cost for the township would be $7,560.
$7,000. That's what our cost is.
Okay, all right.
So it's a mutual funding.
All right, so I vote yes for that, yes.
Bob Anderson votes yes. Mike?
Yes.
Mike, use your mic.
Motion carried.
All ayes, motion carries.
B, discussion of letters trustee Anderson presented at the last board meeting for review by the supervisor, discussion of possible action. Supervisor's not here tonight, so I don't know what he had a chance to look at that or not. But
He did not, and said that we should just bring it on to the next meeting.
What was that?
He has not.
Yeah, he's not.
So if probably want to bring it to the next agenda, or you guys can go ahead and.
I want to move on because I want to move on and hopefully get some action on it. I can read there's two letters that I read the last time. If the board wants, I'll reread them or read them tonight. But hopefully we get some approval here and get them sent out. What's the pleasure of the board? Is I going to read them?
I remember what you said at the last meeting.
Well, I can understand that. So I'll read them again, and if you want to make any minor changes, whatever, they'll be sent to our representatives, State Senator Craig Wilcox and State Representative Steve Wright, and their representatives. A lawsuit filed against McHenry County by McHenry and Nunda Township Road Districts alleges that a new state law, Public Act 101-230, House Bill 348, which allows for the consolidation options by referendum for McHenry County's 17 townships, violates the Illinois Constitution. The alleged violation is that Public Act 101-230, House Bill 348, only applies to the 17 townships in McHenry County, as opposed to the 1,415 other units of township government in Illinois' other 85 counties that have the township form of government. House Bill 348 should apply statewide. The McHenry Township Board, in addition to the McHenry and Nunda Township Road Districts, request your support of drafting legislation that would effectively change House Bill 348, allowing all the Illinois counties with a township form of government to have the same consolidation options by referendum as McHenry County voters presently have. Thank you for consideration of this legislation request. Sincerely, McHenry Township Board and the McHenry and Nunda Township Road Districts. I would like to have this letter signed by the board members that approve this, and also the road commissioners from both McHenry Township and Nunda Township. So is there any discussion on this letter?
If I could be recognized.
You can, yes.
I would recommend that you remove any reference to McHenry Township Road District as it's part of a lawsuit. And you will not find me signing any letter like that based on the current lawsuit.
And I would imagine, I would imagine then that opinion would be the same way with the road commissioner in another township?
I cannot speak for the road commissioner from another township.
The last meeting, I asked you if you'd contact him, evidently you did not.
It would be my error, I don't recall that, I apologize.
Okay. So then, with your statement there, I would imagine he would agree with you on that. So I'd just like to have the approval of the board, and hopefully the board would sign the letter.
Well, discussion. I'm concerned that the letter would be used somehow or other.
You can make a motion, Steve?
Yeah, I'll second it for the purposes of getting
Okay.
discussion.
Nobody made a motion. I'll make the motion to accept this letter, and Steve Veer will second it. Now it's for discussion.
I'm just concerned what effect and what use the letter would be used for. Is some kind of exhibit or something to strengthen the position that it is an unconstitutional law. Which, of course, it isn't, but.
Well, we don't know about that, that's in court, but I would, one thing about this would be that without the pending lawsuit, I think it's good to put out the representation that I think all the townships in McHenry, or in Illinois should have the same options that we have here in McHenry County. And that's, so I think that that's part of my message in this letter, Steve.
Okay.
So I'll ask for approval of this letter from the board. Mike?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And Bob Anderson, yes. My second letter,
If I just clarify, and you're removing Mchenry Township from that, is that correct?
pardon me?
Mchenry Township Road District from that, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
I guess that would be removed, yes. My second letter will go to both the same representatives, Mr. Wilcox and Mr. Wright. And the reason for this letter is electors' powers permitted at the annual township meetings and special township meetings. The township form of government in Illinois differs significantly from other of the many forms of local governments. The principal distinction is that electors at both the annual meeting and the special meetings can take action that overrules the elected township board. This can have serious monetary consequences. Our belief is that townships are the only unit of government in Illinois where the elected officials must follow the directive of electors. Some examples. Electors may make all orders for the purchase, sale, and convenience of corporate property. Electors may direct funds to be distributed to a for-profit or not-profit organization that provides service or facilities to the township's older inhabitants. Voting requirements annual meeting, simple majority, 15 electors may request an agenda item. Voting requirements at a special meeting, affirmative vote of 2/3 of electors attending meeting. 15 electors may sign a petition calling for a meeting. 10 of those 15 of those in attendance could pass the resolutions, because that's all that would have to attend that meeting. McHenry Township Board requests your support of drafting a bill that would change the existing law that allows electors to have the above powers at the annual meeting or at a special meeting. Thank you for consideration of this legislation. I'll make a motion that we send this letter also. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Could you read the last paragraph, please?
The McHenry Township Board requests your support of drafting a bill that would change the existing law that allows electors to have the above powers at the annual meeting or at a special meeting. Any discussion? I'll call for a roll call vote on it. Stan?
I'll vote no on that.
Steve?
Yes.
Bob Anderson, yes. Mike?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1. Dan, I'll give you copies
Okay.
when I get done. You got C, discussion, review, recommendations from the cost benefit analysis committee, discussion and possible action. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to start this since I was on the committee. I just kind of summarize.
We need a second.
Oh, excuse me, thank you.
Motion.
So,
You making a
I'll
motion?
make a motion, my motion, yeah.
I don't think we need a motion, just to discuss it, what happened at the committee, that's all we're doing, is discussing what happened at the committee and what recommendations.
Jim, you're not part of the board, thank you.
I am part of the committee, so.
Yeah.
I think what he's
But
saying that before we have the
you're not part
discussion.
of, you are not part of the board discussion, you're part of the committee, but you are not part of the board discussion on this issue.
Well, I think because he's part of the committee, that he should have some say-so on the impact of this.
He did.
So if I could, I'd like to read this letter, or summary of what happened here. The receipt of the submission of the public question petition for the March 17, 2019 primary election in regard to the Mchenry Township dissolution ballot question was received on September 27, 2019 by the Mchenry Township Supervisor Craig Adams, which was delivered by John Macredo. The discussion question was filed with McHenry County Clerk Joe Terrio on October 17, 2019, almost 3 weeks after Adams received it. The Township Board was not notified. McHenry Township Cost Study Analysis Committee was formed to gauge the financial impact of Township taxpayers. The committee's goals were two. One, study must be impartial and unbiased. Study completed before March 17, 2019 election. Request for proposals was sent to 6 universities. Release date 10/28/2019. Proposal to be received by 4:00 p.m. 11/25/2019. Oral reviews were scheduled on 12/2/2019. Contractors were to be awarded on 12/12/2019. The deliverable date from the source would be 2/21/2019. There were 6 universities that sent out to, not one of them replied, but there was a reply from Urban Analytics Incorporated. They said that they complete the cost benefit study for deliverable date of February 21. We heard a comment this evening from one of our public commenters, and I totally agree with her. My words here is that there is no way that McHenry Township voters could make an intelligent vote on the township dissolution question without reviewing results of a study. This leaves the McHenry Township Board with 2 options. The first option would be this. We could request John Macredo to contact the McHenry County Clerk to withdraw his petition. There's time to do that. I'd call the county clerk's office. And the last date to remove a public question from the ballot would be January 1, 2020. Number 2, we could hire Urban Analytics and move forward with a cost benefit study. I will be making a motion to move forward with that, the cost benefit study being awarded to Urban Analytics. Is there a second to that motion?
You said there was aren't you going to ask me for my opinion? You did call me out.
There's a discussion.
I'm asking right now a second for the motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. So I gave an option there, John. I want to get a second first for that. So
Here's the option I
my
see.
request is, you have an opportunity to pull that. If you don't, then I'll be asking a vote to go over the study.
You can allow me to answer?
I am.
Okay. I personally think we should do an in-house study, because I did a small one, and the township drivers make about $34,000 a year. The county drivers make about $63,000 a year. There's no reason why we couldn't do an in-house study and do it for a lot less than $50,000. No, I'm not going to withdraw the petition. I'm all for the study, but not that study.
Thank you.
If I could also add to that, since I was on the committee, two things if you proceeded with the motion. You said one thing, the universities didn't reply. A couple of them actually did reply, and they just said the time frame was just too short. So that provides a little concern to me as it relates to the organization out of the East Coast that provided the proposal. The second part, when I read the outline for the proposal, that they referenced their experience related to annexations and cost studies or evaluations of properties annexing from the county to municipalities. That's the experience they expressed. They didn't express any experience in just the opposite, where we're taking something that's in the township and abolishing the township, and what would the cost benefit would be. They don't have any experience in that. Not that they can or can't do it. So that was one of the issues that I had with them. That the time frame, unfortunately, is too short there. The second thing is, based on that, the township road district will not be participating 50% in any cost study. Should you decide to proceed with this, that approximately $50,000 will be the complete burden of the township. None of it will be paid by the road district.
Thank you.
You going to share the brochure that you received from them?
No, right now it's up to the board. You guys had your comments in there, you're off the committee, and it's not open for discussion for that. Certainly, you can go back. I mentioned at the last meeting, when we got that issue about the township road district, having that eliminated and go to the township board. All that was plastered all around this township was a study first. And now we have people that support township government kind of backing off of that. It certainly would be a situation, I think we'd all like to have a little more time to do this, but time's a factor. I didn't put this thing together. We could very easily have this here put out and withdraw your motion or your petition, John, and have the election at the presidential election where more people have a chance of voting on it. But without a question, okay, I believe that that petition was put out there to put it on the March primary election, so fewer people would get out to vote, and you have a better chance to keep your township. And I have a question, for you, Stan. Someplace in all these papers I got up here, I thought I had a little more chance of being sitting over there, but I didn't realize I'll be sitting here. But you signed a petition, Dan, to put this on the ballot for the election in the primary election. Why would you want it on that election and not the presidential election, when at one time I made a motion and I had support from the board to have passed a resolution for the presidential election, but I had to withdraw because I misread the law that if we pass that resolution, it would have to be in the next preceding election. Sitting here on this board, why would you want to go to election where fewer people are going to vote on such an important issue?
I believe when I signed that petition, I assumed it was going to be in the November election, and then it got changed after that.
Well then, so Stan, are you sitting here telling me that you signed a petition, you know what you signed? Because you signed a petition, because I got a copy of it here, that you want that on the ballot for the March election. So hopefully tonight, when we have a vote here, you'll vote our way to say, no, we're gonna have a study here, so we know, at least, even though it's gonna be rushed, at least somebody out there that is out there in the public will have at least some idea of what the voting on and what the consequences are.
We're gonna give $50,000 or taxpayers' hard-earned money to some company we don't know anything about, and then they've never even bothered to come over here and make a presentation, and we're just gonna, we're all sitting on this board trying to save money, and we're gonna give away 50 grand hard-earned to some company we don't know anything about. When I signed that petition, I thought it would be from a university. I thought it was, I assumed it was gonna cost maybe $30,000. This is outrageous. We don't know anything about these people. I can't vote for this. Absolutely not.
But Stan, didn't you get this? From them?
I didn't get anything like that.
Well, you should have been asking for it, okay? But it's all in there. If you read through it, it's got a lot
I
of
wasn't part of
details
the
in there.
committee. I wasn't part of the committee.
But you're a board member, though, you have an interest, though, so that maybe you could have asked the committee.
I didn't know that document existed.
You could have come to the meetings, to whatever. But that was up to you, so. This company said, you know, that it's negotiable, or we can call it in, my resolution, or my motion is gonna be to pass this, and that,
6 universities said that there isn't enough time. 6 universities.
This company said they can deliver, that's what I read off when I started. They can make the delivery date, they can have this done before the election, so people that do vote, I know it's not much time, they will know.
I said, let the people decide, it won't cost us anything. I won't support this.
Have you ever heard the term, 2 wrongs don't make a right? Anybody heard that? Okay.
Don't engage the audience.
I think that we have a case here where 2 wrongs is going to make another wrong. And let me explain myself. We're trying to get a study done that gives us 2 weeks to get out to the public the information, which is an impossibility. It's just not possible to get all that information out to the people so they can make a good decision. We have people who are petitioning for this in March, when it could be moved back easily to November, where we could have a choice of 6 different people who will come in and we can interview them and have plenty of time to get the best choice out there. I don't see why everybody has to be stuck in the mud on this issue. Let some common sense happen here. November is not a big deal. And I disagree with our road commissioner. I believe the more people that have a choice in this, the better. And I think that we can only enhance that by giving them good information, by having a good study done. And I don't see your reluctance, John, in going to November.
You're talking to me?
Yes.
Again, Mike, we should do an in-house study. Won't cost us peanuts. I've got all the time in the
Don't
world.
engage in a conversation, he's not involved with the
Well,
conversation.
Well, exactly, it's not
I'm
good, that's why I-
just putting my proposition out. I think the people here probably see a little value in that. I don't see why the reluctance to go to November.
If I could be recognized, since I was on the committee.
No,
and since I
Jim, you've already spoke, I'm not
Well,
recognizing you
but
again,
unfortunately-
and you are not a member of this board, okay?
But
This is a board
unfortunately,
discussion.
You're not even paying for it, so
No,
why don't you turn the mic
But
off?
unfortunately,
You're not
a trustee,
You are
a
not
trustee,
part of this discussion.
but
You are
unfortunately,
not part of this
Are you
discussion.
gonna be silent?
but
You are
unfortunately,
not part of this discussion.
that's really a shame because
That's okay, you're not part of the discussion, you can have public comment anytime you want, you're not part of this discussion. You have a comment, Steve?
Well,
I have great concerns as to how Urban Analytics even got wind of it to put in their application.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Came out of nowhere.
I can tell you.
Oh, please do.
I talked to the doctor, what's his name out of this thing? Dr. Dean Bellis, I talked to him yesterday. He's the reason he sent everybody the brochure. There's out on the internet, they could search for certain words. They search for the word RFP, and that's how they discovered that we even were out there. Does it make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's all I discovered, so we can add this out.
If that's what really happened.
That's what happened.
No, I'm not disputing it's what the guy told you.
Right.
Okay. In 2011, the Illinois Better Government Association did a massive study on townships. No one can accuse them of being some ultra-conservative group. Andy Shaw is the president. They came out with a withering denunciation of townships as to how they're really a big waste, okay? That study is available online. When the state of Iowa got rid of all their townships in the 50s, they commissioned a study. That's online too. I've read it. These 17 counties in downstate Illinois that got rid of their townships in the 1930s, they seem to exist quite well without townships. We have 17 townships still in this state that have been swallowed up by municipalities, where there's no roads to do, but there's still a road district commissioner. Evanston just got rid of theirs, and Bellevue did too, but there's still 17 more like that, where they're just paying people to do absolutely nothing. Townships in heavily urbanized areas like DeKalb County are a completely different kettle of fish than downstate or out west. More than half of this township is incorporated. So, it's funny how the people that demanded a study 2 years ago are now saying no. Okay. We all know why the thing was put on the March ballot, because a lot of Republicans are going to be voting in the primary. Okay? It should be on the November ballot, where everybody can get a chance at it. Obviously, there'll be more people voting in November, but that's not how townships operate. They operate in secrecy. There's no transparency. This business about having the township conduct an in-house cost-benefit study, it's preposterous, okay? It's the most preposterous thing I've heard tonight. So, given what Mr. McCredo said, I'd be willing to go with the study.
What's that?
Be willing to vote for the study.
You're willing to vote for it?
Yes.
Mike, you willing to vote for it?
I'd like to see John reconsider his November election. I think that you're doing a great disservice to the voters of this township by.
I'll accept the responsibility, we're not changing it. We can do it in town. There's no reason we can't do a study.
Mike, not part of the conversation.
I will vote to have them come here so we can interview them. I will vote for that.
Okay, go ahead, Debbie.
I just wanted to state, Craig wanted me to let you guys know, now I know you guys have had a lot more conversation. He was just concerned about the cost and, how they got the study and what was going on.
But I think those concerns,
I mean, I know he's not here, he was part of that committee.
I'm sure he would, I heard him say
Right, I'm
that
sure
on
he would
Friday,
have more to say.
and who doesn't have those concerns? But the concern here is that it's the group that put that petition in there. They're the ones that forced this issue. Okay? And they can change that, they haven't done that.
I don't get that. How can you laugh?
I did laugh, sir.
I know you did, John.
If this board decides to have an interview and bring them in, the only piece, and I can't speak to the qualifications, but I can speak to the timing issue. And my concern, and just would want to make sure that this board is, when you're interviewing them, you're clear and the contract provides whether payment is made if they meet the deadline. Okay, because otherwise it becomes a moot, I mean, otherwise you're paying for something that it's after the fact.
It's in the, they said they can meet.
Okay, and the only reason I said it is, as I'm looking here, looking at page 6 of 16 on the report, they do say, and to expedite the program's management, planning to minimize slippage if unexpected delays should occur.
Correct.
My only concern with that is, they can occur, slippage can occur, so you'd want to make it rock solid that if there's slippage, it's going to be their cost and not our cost.
And we can definitely get that in the contract.
Absolutely.
Oh,
That's all I'm saying. Is
We're
they're providing.
calling on you to get that in the contract to protect us.
Right, and I'm saying under the terms of this, as it's presented here, it doesn't protect us. So I would want to make sure that whatever contract that this board decides to move forward with, it provides for, clearly provides for delivery of the product prior to the date that's requested.
Can I say something? I think that everybody on this board recognizes that we wanted to interview anybody that was going to do this study. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so if we expedite this right now and get these people here as quickly as possible, and that we could actually call a special meeting to do so, we would be fulfilling the obligations that we expressed beforehand. Correct? Okay, so my motion, well, I guess you'd have to rescind yours, but my motion is that we get these people here as quickly as possible. We arrange to have them here and conduct our interview as quickly as possible.
If we follow through what I made here, Mike, that's gonna happen, that's gonna be part of the deal. That they have committed to that they can come here for those interviews, they can do that. We need to pass this though, to get that moving.
I don't think that we have to do that. We can pass that they come here and be interviewed.
But nothing is signed, okay?
Okay.
Yep. Nothing is signed.
Okay, we could
pass this
sign
motion
it that night.
Huh?
We could sign it the night
I'm
we
just
have
saying, if
it.
you pass this motion, that will come out there.
Okay, but then we're committing to the whole thing, and
No, you're not.
I'm not sure that I'm committed.
No, we wouldn't be committed to the whole.
You're not.
Can you caution the gallery about talking out of
I
turn?
have no business there.
Mr. Anderson, I just remind you that he sent you, and he said he may adjust his number, so you don't want to agree to the 50,000. He, in his email, had a possible reduced price, so make sure that you don't just agree to the 50.
We're not doing that.
Okay.
It's negotiable, the price is
I just want to
negotiable.
remind you that, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Are we actually committing to this group
No.
by making this vote today? Or are we committing to an interview?
Interview.
We are committing, Mike, that we're gonna go have a study before, this is the only group that came back and said they could get this done in time, okay? And we want a study, if we're gonna ask the people to vote, we need a study on this, okay? What it's gonna cost, we can tell them what we want in that study, that's all negotiable. But we need to take action to get this thing moving and get them here as soon as possible.
So if we say yes to them today, we're bypassing the whole interview session?
We are not.
So,
They will come here to this board, and the board is gonna direct them what you want in that study. Okay?
I think-
And the price of it, Mike.
But at that point, we're committed. We're committed to this.
You're not committed till you sign anything, okay?
Maybe we should have a committee of the board do the interview. I don't see why they have to come here. They can all be done by phone. So the committee can then talk to them, and then we can come back. This isn't a matter of an open meetings act or anything like that. We've had all these other contracts come and have been just presented to us after the fact.
Do you understand my apprehension on this?
I understand, Mike, but also that I understand that part of it. What Steve said, that you could, if you want to be part of it, you could be by that. But I think we need to move forward. There's no time to waste here.
I'm in complete agreement. That's why I was saying we could call a special meeting.
if you go back to what there was supposed to be, oral interviews on the 2nd, okay? We've already passed that date. We can work this out, but we need to pass something tonight.
Are you going by your original comment?
Of what I read here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, are you going ahead with your motion? Or are you
I'd like
rescinding?
to accept this group here to look into doing a study for us, yes.
So, just for purpose of clarification for the record, Dan, you get the minutes. So, the motion is to continue the investigation of this firm for doing the analysis.
Yes.
Just to continue that investigation.
Exactly.
So we are not.
That's what you're looking at.
We are not committing to them doing the study tonight.
No.
Okay, then you're going to have to change your motion because I think the way you made your motion was to accept the bid.
No, I didn't, there's nothing, I didn't say anything about accepting the bid.
Just have Dan read it back.
I know numbers, Mike, I didn't, my motion was not to accept the bid. My motion is pretty much what you're saying.
All right, so the new motion is to.
What was the old one?
It's not the new motion, it's the current motion.
What is it, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, you're the clerk, man, are you writing any of this stuff down?
I don't write the motions, you propose the motion.
Just repeat it, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, please repeat your motion.
Withdraw the first one and redo it again, and it's straight.
For purpose of clarification, the motion, as I understood it, is a motion to continue with the investigation of the proposed cost study analysis prepared by Urban Analytics, Inc.
Okay, I think we need to add
We need to add to that motion that there be a subcommittee of this Board of Trustees that does the actual interview with these people, whether it's on phone or in person.
You could do that after the fact. You as a board could decide how you want to handle that interview. You as a board could delegate one person, and you could do it as a board as a whole. But I guess the first step would be to determine whether or not you would want to continue with the investigation of this group, and then decide how you want to handle it.
And that would deal with all your issues there, Mike. So that would deal with your issues there.
And that'll be the next vote after this one. Okay? So it'll all be done tonight. So.
Want to call the question?
Well, as it was read, I second that motion.
Yes. So, I'll call the question. Steve?
Yes.
Dan?
I don't want to give $50,000 to a bunch of bean counters.
We're not giving 50, this is just a continuity.
Bob Anderson, yes?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-1.
I'll need a clear description of that motion, please.
Jim, can you read it back now for the third time?
The board would consider an additional investigation with Urban Analytics, Inc. Under the cost study analysis. And I'll provide it to you. I'll get you a written
Thank you.
right after this. The next issue in that particular motion regarding the continued investigation of Urban Analytics Inc. passed 3-1. The next issue on the board as agenda is to discuss the next meeting, whether it's a special meeting or a committee of the whole or the designated individual.
That is correct.
Investigation.
And I would like to have a copy of their proposal, please. Can I get that?
Jim?
Yes.
I'll send it right now to you.
Okay.
So a motion for Mr. Anderson to be the point person to talk to them.
That's the motion.
Second?
I'll second that. Okay.
It would be a subcommittee of the
Are we
board.
going,
So then,
How many board members are we going to have on this? Are all of them or just one or two or what?
I would say that a committee should be, whatever you like. I don't think it should be more than 3 people. I think you want a committee of the people that voted for the motion, not somebody who voted against it, my feeling is. So it could be 1, it could be 2 people, it could be 3 people.
Why not the same people on the, why not the same people on the original committee?
Because this is the board now, okay?
That's, the committee did their job, okay, now it's up to the board.
Why don't you just include the whole board, that way we can vote on it right away too.
Would you like to be on the committee, Mike?
I'd love to, but I'm not sure I want to.
Okay, Steve, you want to work with me on it?
Yes.
Okay. And I would say we'll get started soon. Tomorrow?
Yes.
Maybe we'd have to set up an appointment, a telephone appointment.
I'll make the initial phone call tomorrow.
Yeah.
Great. Go from there. Okay, very good.
Mr. Anderson, who was on the committee? I didn't hear it, I'm sorry, apologize. Who's on the committee?
Steve and I are going to deal with it.
The 2 of you?
Yep, the 2 of us, yes.
Thanks.
Could I get a motion and a second to approve that committee?
I gave the motion, now I need a second.
I'll second it, so we'll have a vote on it. Okay, Mike?
Yes.
Bob Anderson, yes. Stan?
We still have to vote on,
This is the committee.
just for the committee,
That's
not
good.
to vote on
That's
whether we
good.
hire them or not. Okay, I'll accept that, yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Motion carried for ayes. Okay, K, proposed agenda items for next monthly board meeting. You already got a couple for that already, earlier in that, Dan, right?
Yeah, they were kind of out of order.
I know they were, but that's the way things go sometimes. Is there anybody else, have anything else they want to get on at this time?
Yes, I would like to have the board examine how much we are charging for the senior bus service and who's eligible.
What is it? Clarify what you want on the agenda.
I just want to be able to look at how much we're charging for the service and who is eligible to use it.
I don't quite.
For the bus service.
Yes.
For what we now call the senior bus service.
Who are the riders that are eligible? That's all.
The riders, it's $2 each way. It's a donation.
Okay, that's what I want to look into.
What do you want?
They can't, we can't charge for it, right?
Right.
Yeah, we can't, because the
Because, well, maybe now they can charge it, because when they had the grants, you couldn't charge for it, but they don't have the grants now, so they could be charging for it.
No, same process.
Wrong,
you're right.
wrong, okay? There's no federal funds coming into
So
the
you
program.
can, you can charge it,
But I don't believe they are, I think they're following the same process.
Well, so
If they
then,
can afford to do it, they're doing it.
I think what Mike is probably asking for, something on the agenda to explain exactly,
Motion to
fees
reset.
are they charging, is that?
Yes.
Was that?
Yes.
Reset the charges.
Reset the charges and make the availability for everybody, because everybody has to pay for it.
Do you want that for, do you want that just for discussion? Because I don't know what kind of action you're looking for, just for discussion?
No, I want it for possible action.
And what would the action be to change?
I want a discussion and possible action.
Resetting the rates and the eligibility.
I get it.
Okay, if that's what you want, okay, that's it.
what I want.
I got that. Okay, yep, okay, yep, okay. That's a good motion. Anybody else?
Yes. Discussion and review the configuration of the board table and who's actually up here for future board meetings. And possible action. No, we can't.
Okay, did you get that? Okay. Anybody, anything else? Okay, supervisor report, well, I don't have any report at this time, the supervisor's not here, so everything was in your packet. Does anybody have any questions of what you read in your packet?
Can I go back on the agenda items, proposed agenda items?
Yes, you can.
We've had two proposed agenda items to be added. Mike had one and Steve had one. Could we go ahead and get a motion in a second to approve those two agenda items?
Yes, you could. How did I overlook that? So, okay, so we need a motion, a second, and a vote.
For each one separately?
Yeah, I would say separately, no, they should be separate.
I'll make a motion that we address the issues that I brought up about the senior buses.
I'll second it. Any further discussion that we had? I'll call for a vote. Anderson, yes. Stan?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Motion carried. And the other one was?
Reconfiguration of the board table.
Yes. So is that a motion?
You need a second.
Well, configuration and membership.
Did you make it in a motion?
Yes. Now, as I understand that these agenda items can be given to the supervisor, just make sure that it's done 48 hours in advance.
Is there a second to this?
Yes, I'll second.
Any more discussion? Call for vote. Mike?
Yes.
Bob, yes. Stan?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now, what about the two other items for the next board that we discussed earlier? They're already on, right?
Yeah, he's got that down for, for the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So there'll be at least four.
Yeah, right. Okay, the assessors report, no assessor here again tonight, so, it's all in your packet. If you have any questions, call your assessor. So now we have the highway commissioner, he's here, so can we have your report, sir?
I think you got my written report, and you're all are tired of hearing me, so if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer it. But otherwise, you have the written report, so.
I don't have any questions of the road commissioner. Do you, Mike? Stan?
No,
Steve?
I have no questions.
No.
Thanks for the report. It's brief, good one. Executive session, we're not gonna go into.
Yes, we are. We're going, definitely going.
It's, okay.
Nope.
You calling for it?
Yes.
Do the attorney hear that?
What purpose, so we can make sure we get it on the agenda?
What do you want, Jeff? Steve?
Possible criminal misconduct by an elected township official. As well as the status of all the litigation that's going on.
For pending litigation.
Right.
I might ask, do I need to stay for this, number one?
Well, I'm just gonna ask the board if we move ahead for public comments.
Let's not diverge from the agenda.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll
just
wait
go
for
to the
you.
executive
No,
session.
Just let these people go.
I'm just gonna
No,
ask them.
we like to, we'll work on it. We're good.
I'm just gonna ask them a public comment.
We'll order a pizza. We'll get a pizza.
But well, the road commissioner wanted to know if he had to go to executive session. There's nothing, is that involved? Would you want him in there, Steve, or not?
Accusing him of something?
That was the question.
Yeah, I would like him to be there.
So, trustee Beers, can I be there?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So, anyway, for myself, as board member here, I would just go ahead and move to public comment up.
I agree.
Agree, Stan?
Yeah.
Steve, do you mind?
Well,
Yes or no?
Then in the future, we should move public comment ahead of the executive session from now on.
That's doable. Did you get that? No. Okay, so anyway, for public comment, anybody would like to come up for public comment?
Jim Condon, 4823.
It's 1 minute too.
Loyola, McHenry, Illinois.
It's 1 minute.
I'm sorry?
It's 1 minute this time.
Okay, I just want to clarify one thing, and Mr. McCredo has it on the November, does not have it on the November election, and you claim it's because they want less people to vote. No, we want, what I assume he wants, which is that he's indicated to me, is that he wants voters that are educated on the local issues. During the yeah, I know, Mr. Burr, you got your cat call, you get the giggle, you get the laugh. That's the facts. And you can say anything else that you want, but the truth is, he wants it on the primary, because the primary, there's much more attention to local issues than on the presidential election. There's nothing funny about it, Mr. Burr. I know you get big kicks out of it, because you think you're an attorney and you know everything, but there's nothing funny about it. He simply wants it on that election because the local election, that election pays much more attention to local votes, or to the local issues, than during the primary election. It's no other reason than that. Don't try to lie.
You insult voters' intelligence.
It's true.
Jim, your time's up.
Yeah, well, actually, I should actually probably
Thank
have
you.
a,
Your minute is up.
He got interrupted.
I think, yeah, I think I do have some more time based on
He's
some
got a minute and a
interruptions.
half now.
He reclaims his time.
No, you
Regardless,
can't
that's the
pass
reason
your
why I
time
did it.
around.
Don't let anybody else tell you something different. That's the reason why.
Mike Dollar, Wonder Lake. I find it very interesting that Mr. Vera is so insistent upon the minutes being up to the standard of Robert's rules, when he himself is consistently out of order and fails to follow Robert's rules, for one. Thank you. If we're going to be insistent upon that, then this board needs to follow Robert's rules, okay, and stop interrupting, speaking out of turn, and making motions out of order. Secondly, I do have that document I promised last meeting. You didn't bother to ask me, Mr. Bear, but I do have it. You can come see me afterwards. And lastly, it was very interesting that I'm very kind of disappointed that the invocation didn't move forward. I was really looking forward to those. Thank you. Have a good night.
John Sarf, Mchenry. What I saw tonight was a flashback to the other day when I was at school, and I mentioned to the kids that there was a test. And they said, where's this information? What happened? Why didn't I know about this? What was going on? You guys were a prime example of how 50-year-old men and up act like 15-year-olds at school, and I don't even know why you are actually elected. Oh, and by the way, when Mr. Anderson talks about, oh, maybe we should have this on November ballot because more people will vote, maybe we should move the township election to November when more people will vote, and then that way you guys won't get voted back in. Thank you.
Robert Beltran, 2814 Regner Road, McHenry, Illinois. I don't know what you're planning to do in the executive session, except there was a mention of criminal charges. And I suggest you consult with the attorney regarding whether that falls within the criteria of litigation or property purchases or things like that. And there are very few things that fall in that category, and I don't think this does. Thank you.
Hello, Linda Poller, Wonder Lake. Gentlemen, that feeling you got when you got resistance to get something you wanted by people who have power over you, that's what every single person that has rallied against you for the bus program has felt. I will explain my chuckles at the moment. The study only became important when it was a way to get what you want, a November election. I find people outsmarting each other funny. I would be fine with moving public comment to before your executive session as long as you can guarantee no other discussion about anything having to do with the township other than closing the meeting would happen. Don't use it as a way to hide from our response. I do have a quick question for you, gentlemen. Who on earth are you gonna play God Kings with once the township is through with you? Sad little kings on sad little hills. And Mr. Beer, I'm still waiting for proof that you care about anything that doesn't benefit you directly.
The Booth Trost, still on Shepherd Hill. I wanted to second the thoughts that Mr. Condon had about primary elections. People who vote in primaries pay attention to what's going on. Most of the other people who vote in the general election are voting for the big issues, the president, what have you. And that stuff drowns everything out. All you hear is political ads for, whoever your candidate is and whoever his opponent is. And the small issues like this are forgotten. And so people look at them, they don't know anything about it, and they just, well, not even an educated guess, they just vote. But in the primary, that's where people think. So I think you should stay right there.
Jamie Rouse, Mchenry still. Just a couple of things. Good job. Thank you for passing the levy, even though it's a flat one and stuff like that. That's doing your job. Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, going back to things we've discussed in the past, Iowa has townships. They have 1,599 of them. They're classified differently. That's why the census doesn't see them, just so you know. The other thing I want to address too is about the study. Yes, when the road district was trying to be consolidated, you guys didn't care about a study, but we did because we're like, wait a second, why does this make sense? So then when you're allowed to abolish the townships, did you ask for a study? No, you asked for it to be put on the ballot. And then you're like, oh, but I wanted time for a study. Your first action should have been to ask for a study and not put it on the ballot.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So don't use that. Yeah. Do not blackmail us with a $50,000 study to make us push that back either so you can get more people out in your November election that don't actually know what's going on. We see you, we know what's going on, we don't think we don't have plans about it.
Well said, Jamie. Well said, Jim. Well said, Dave. I will make one correction. Steve said that we put it on the March election because we want the Democrats to come out. Steve, I've been a Republican my whole life. I'm vice president of the Mchenry Township Republican Committee. If you came to any of the meetings, you would know that. So it's not about the Democrats. And then, getting back to the study, there's no reason why we can't not do it in-house. I followed the county, I got all the numbers, what everyone makes, what the drivers make. There's no reason we have to spend $50,000.
Mike Guy, Mchenry Township. Sitting in these meetings for the past couple of months, as a taxpayer, I'm disgusted with this board.
Yeah.
It is so dysfunctional, you guys should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Most of you do not deserve the title of trustee.
Right.
I can't wait until the next election for trustees. And Mr. Burr, as a Republican, I'm offended that you're making senior buses and township disillusionment a political issue. You should be ashamed of yourself.
So at this time, I'll be looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
A motion to executive session. Okay. Do we have a second? Second by Stan. All in favor? Aye.
Let the minutes reflect that it's under exception C1 and C11.
Yes, they come back, and that's why we stay, because he knows what they'll do. Like somebody said. Is that, I forgot about is part of the board's function?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Gone. He
What's
gone.
that? Not supposed to executive session.
Yeah, we're still live.
So everybody that's out there that's listening, please go to either the township website, MchenryTownship.com, not .org, I always make that mistake. Look to see what your township actually does and everything that's on there, the truth, the facts.
Also, we have a website,
It's
savemt.com,
hard to
they can hear me,
get
don't
more
worry.
around.
What?
Anyway.
.org, savemt.org, you might get confused. We also have facts and figures on there for you that are factual, you can look them up your own self, but it's summarized in there. Please go to that, and see what's going on with your township, stay involved, and stay active.
They're very well done.
Oh, thank you.
Very well Professional.
And we know our facts and figures before we come to a meeting.
We're just talking to everyone there about where to go.
You coach tomorrow night?
Can we buy some?
Yeah, Dorothea was like,
What size? I want to be in that
well, the McChenryTownship.com one.
Oh, what size are you got?
So say McChenryTownship.com. So yeah, that's all our information.
You're not gonna get me. I actually don't shop. I'll take a large. They're $15 a piece. I'll just take a large for now. If it doesn't fit my husband, I'll wear it. And we should try to keep 5, 15. Let me get it to
Just wondered how close it is to be able to.
I missed it, but you might, my dad, not my mom.
So you have to go to
Big on the XL. I have to. And the wine tasting fundraiser, I think it's tomorrow.
Not the right one.
What is the money headed my way? My hand was out automatically.
Springfield, and we have a plan.
How can they do this? I mean, they just go forward. I had to deal with my mom today. How low can you go? It's a new game.
All this time I was gone an hour and a half to shop. Everybody motivated, we've been fighting for this for 30 years.
I run
Make sure that this movement, this 30-year movement gets amplified.
So now I have to put Post-it notes.
So the
Barbara was right, I have to put
Obviously, this is the same thing, so in other words, you know, I kind of go down to Springfield. I have no idea.
He's still in McHenry, good. He's accusing someone of something else, I'm
Don't you
sure.
call the police if there's a crime? You don't go to executive session.
No, and that's
See,
what I
this
was
is
trying
where
to
I
point out.
need
is
you
that
guys
this is
to
not eligible for
understand
executive session.
the township.
Yeah, but then he wanted to go up to
benefits.
petting litigation, so that didn't covers it.
Oh, yeah, but he's, the, I know
Seneca
cited
Township,
the,
and my township isn't talking about
personnel action.
right?
See, he's not subject to
So-
personnel action.
And you're not gonna get it.
Yeah, I am.
Or you are, okay.
See, here's the thing.
What do you think?
Any of the elected officials
If it were
are
gonna go on the ballot, should
independent
we
of any
eliminate
personnel action. You can't take any personnel action.
And he cited personnel
I'm
action.
thinking that, I'm looking at where I live.
Do you really think that they care about the technicalities of it?
Well,
Yeah, it's the same thing, like, he didn't even mention that the committee as a whole voted to not recommend that, but I wanna do it, no. Nick, snuff that out, they wouldn't let anyone talk. And then if it, Jim can talk, Jim can't talk, Jim can talk, Jim can't talk, Dan can talk, Debbie can talk, and I'm like,
Debbie is staff.
Yeah,
but she's not bored.
I live on my street.
It doesn't matter, he said.
really knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
Board can always refer to staff.
so we'd be like the furthest
Well, yeah, but they refer to
from
Dan, and Dan's not
Woodstock,
staff, although he's
just to
got a
get our
jacket
snow.
from the road district, so.
So I'm right there with you.
So here's
What I
what's
was
wrong
starting to
with
say
the bill.
is that when the money was transferred
Okay,
to the road district for the buses, it was done
if I
under
vote
the
about
rubric
the
of
township,
provision that said
okay,
it
I
was
don't
for
have any
benefit
say
received.
in.
So he's gonna try to get the
So
same
we
money.
can't use
Okay.
the
So,
bus for
The thing is,
non-seniors.
you, see, the
Yeah.
problem I have
But,
is
but
you
he
can't
can define what seniors are.
Unfortunately.
in other words, I vote to buy.
Hey,
Jamie hasn't announced. We have to vote.
Hold on a second, hold on a second.
The microphone announcement.
Nice. Is this thing on?
Jamie McHenry still.
Yes.
Forgot to mention, Save Mchenry Township has a fundraiser tomorrow night at Corkscrew Point in McHenry.
Yep.
Right there on the corner of
Riverside
and Pearl. Starts at 7 p.m. It's $5 and you get to sample 10 different wines.
A bargain at twice
That
the
is
price.
unbelievable. You can just buy other tastings for the people that aren't even there and just get sloshed if you wanted to.
I can actually
But
walk
get a
there.
driver.
Yeah, get a driver. Yeah, we can walk at 50-50 raffles. We're gonna do a white elephant exchange. What that means is just bring something from your house that you don't want but someone else might. Don't go out and spend money on stuff. It's supposed to be fun. It's a holiday kind of thing. So we're looking forward to seeing people out there and getting the correct and factual information out. So if you have any questions, the website is savemt.org. Go and check it out. Got a lot of good information on there. See you soon.
Yeah, come on down.
So here's the problem, okay, like, I wrote wording, okay, and the wording is like legalese that's gonna make most people understand, right? So, it's kind of like, I'm gonna put this on the back, to be about McHenry Township, okay? If McHenry Township, if the vote to abolish, does the responsibility go to the county, McHenry County? Does it go to the city of McHenry or anybody else? You know? Right, by default.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is it's just like this bullshit study that they did in the 60s, right? But they're so desperate to get this that they'll vote for somebody that's not even qualified. This is even qualified on this, right? And so here it's the same thing. Why should it default to the county? Because you know, I'm putting my trust that the county will do the job as well as the township, okay? Whereas, you know, if people did abolish, hypothetically speaking, McHenry Township, okay? In your opinion, okay? Seeing what the city services are, seeing what the county services are, if it's gonna happen, what would you do? You'd rather stay alone. If you were forced, if you had a gun to your head, okay, then you'd probably rather go to the city of McHenry, right? For the responsibility. So all I'm saying is, how can you look at people without having a plan what happens if they vote to eliminate the county?
And the county doesn't have a plan.
The county doesn't have a plan.
And they don't want to know what our reasoning is for putting it on the ballot tomorrow. It's not the real reason, because it shows them as being, you know, not even a church.
Well, I mean, I'm listening to this stuff. They want to go have this study done by this company that doesn't have anything in their background to it. And 6 universities, people that are professional, so it can't be done.
Well, 2 of them said it can't be done. 4 of them didn't even respond because they're like,
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, what I'm just saying is, you know, you look at their portfolio or whatever it is, township, you know what I mean? It's all real estate. We're not talking about real estate.
no, and it's like I said, I don't trust them. They're
Like I was telling him, I says,
Come try this on, so make sure it passes.
Well, I can tell you right
We'll just try it.
no, that's what I was telling him, is right now is the constitutionality of this is being challenged, right? It's only being challenged because it's unconstitutional. They never do trying to make this bill, this bad bill go.
And then also all the other counties and representatives, that's all way aside.
All right.
Now it's all over me.
Our pushback. Because, you know, these guys are going to
I saw when he came in, he was like, John, it's just like, I was at an AP class for a physics, and I walked in there and said, you have a test center. And they just turned.
Oh, God, I'm not going. That sort of thing.
No.
It's just so much. you start thumbing through the papers, start thumbing through, oh, what, you know, and it's just like, guys,
Okay, we
it's just like,
we got, everybody has their shirts on, so they're taking your shots.
What?
They are so unaware, they're so unaware
And then not even hour yesterday meeting. I don't remember saying that. I don't remember that happening. I don't remember any of this.
And yeah, and to diss anybody who's, I mean, to diss Timmy, to say, no, I wouldn't say.
I made a mistake when I went to microphone the second time. I just to say that. Robert Beltran, Marxist.
I could have said atheist.
Looking at the religious, the Norse God, religious, one of those is recognized. I love that.
You actually know that's why they.
The government
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
I love doing that to find out that the department.
I'll see if I can get out what I'm committed to. This is, I will see what I can do.
Wonderful.
I love
Right, everybody, all same every time
Come
t-shirt people lined up. Everybody has a Mchenry Township t-shirt, come on, line up. Okay.
Short people in front, tall people in back.
But I gotta see your shirt.
You are taller.
Who's taller? You're taller. Stand over there so I can see your shirt. Don't get in the middle there, there we go. All right. John, squeeze it a little bit. All right, everybody smile. Looks like you're happy to be here.
Can someone go grab Rob Anderson's name tag? He did the big hair.
Oh.
Did they take him with?
No, they're there. All right, you're on tape, you're on tape.
I wasn't gonna steal it. I just thought we should take our picture with it.
You're on tape.
You should come over here and take your picture around it.
He's gonna be around to rearrange the board table anyway.
Because we are still being recorded.
It's a great picture.
Can you cut off our legs?
Can I come?
I'm stooping. Yeah, and I'm stooping. It's like a picture on what you're like. Well, we're gonna jump. Oh, we should do the jump one. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, all right, you want to try this?
It's very simple. I will personally put it in GS.
1, 2, 3, jump.
Because I did a white paper for Metro to decal. And it resulted in Oswego and Merle County getting Metro station. The stupid idiots in decal resisted. But I'm going to be seeing Steve Stottleman, who's state senator next door, and Maurice West next week. I'm going to tell him that I'm going to go after repeal of this bill. So I'm going to do that, look it up, I'm going to find out who voted for it, who voted against it, and track down the people that voted against it. I have to find out Sam Ewing what he did.
You're talking about Wisconsin.
No, he's with you. Yeah. Because I got to Wendy Meister. I said, so he was the response.
So basically, you just want me to write out something that just presents the case for repealing it.
forgot what her name is. She had a really good polish. Sue, yeah.
I can
It makes it very simple. I don't wanna do a PowerPoint, I just need.
I'll just take off of Sue's PowerPoint, because I have her PowerPoint on my phone. I can go through it.
If I could get something two-sided at the most, just bullet points, like an because I digested enough to go and make the case for it, I just need a lead behind. And if you can't do it in 2 sheets, 4 sheets, nobody's gonna read more.
This guy's basically do it like a legal brief. You just gotta make it as quick, small, concise. So, I can write that.
I don't want to attack him. Because he's
Do you want it like after or do you want?
I don't want to like hard it.
I have to find out.
Just with Christmas, it's really less expensive.
Let me find out. I have your contact.
Yeah.
It's just that I'll be seeing them during the holiday. I mean, it's kind of bad to go bug people with shit like this during the holidays. But you know what? It's a big deal.
The government never sleeps.
When we sleep, then they do bad things.
You show me when.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely.
See, what we have to do is this letter, this whole movement on their part, maybe statewide, is we have to shut that down. I kind of figured that's how they would respond to the court challenge. And I'll figure out,
I have a new degree. I have my certificate.
let's see if I can talk to Aaron Goldstein.
Merry Christmas.
I wish Lou was still there. Who? Actually,
There's a guy in so he's an attorney. I don't know, but he's an injury attorney. So I need like a political.
Oh, no, I looked at
this is funny.
I know if we start a petition drive, we'll paper and change that petition. I know enough people across the state where you ever see those movies with the virus, you know, in Chicago and it spans out in St. Louis and all that stuff.
There's actually
Okay. So I know enough people sprinkled across the states where we can like start in multiple places.
But,
How can you stand it?
What? No, we're talking. See, I knew they were going to do that.
Do what?
See?
Who's they?
With this township about.
You know you're still being taped.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
This isn't anything. I don't.
It's probably a bad business that I can hear this anyway, but anyway. With this letter, they kind of showed their hand. You know, they're going to go to the rights and they're going to go to Will County, right? And they want them to push this so it becomes a state law. Because the unconstitutionality is about the Mchenry Township, right? So they expanded it to the state, then the constitutionality is right? So the only pushback or anything that you can do about this is we have to just come back again at the same time. So at the same time, while some people are trying to expand it, other people are push for it. Some of them are very, because then what it becomes a battle, you know, because now as soon as they want to expand it, Yeah, there used to be a McHenry County ordinance. And then, when it's a McHenry County issue, then you have to say, well, who's gonna, who's gonna sympathize with us, who's gonna support us, Same reason that they signed these bills, what aren't gonna do, but, somebody's gonna fail this, some disaster's gonna happen, well, that happened in McHenry County, right? So, all these other legislators that voted for it from down the state and stuff, now they wanna make this come to the whole state. Now we have other townships, well, because look, we can make the case that this was a disaster for the it's like they're trying to spread this disaster.
Well, no, because they can use.
It's gotta be stopped at the root.
It's gotta be stopped at the root.
Right now, last night, it had been quite cold. So, skin my ice on.
He didn't want to. He was pushed into doing it. I don't know who.
I saved everything.
Are you coming tomorrow?
There's wine.
Yes. Oh, I can't be around it?
I don't want wine.
No, she's just saying.
It's a blank
Keep
piece.
me away.
He's saying you can't keep her away.
Oh, where's my arm? Yeah, he told me about it.
Yeah, and we're gonna make, it's gonna be fun. Wine tasting, karaoke, 50-50 raffles, what did you think of the website? Did you try to look at it? Yeah. Have them show you. Look at it on your big TV. How big is your TV?
The one that's still.
52? Really? That's it? It sounds like bigger than 52 because I just bought 55. And yours is bigger.
I'm thinking about it now. It might be
It's definitely bigger.
March,
Yeah, it's
March 30th.
I think it's bigger than I am. I'm 60 and 62. I think she's.
Well, nothing's working, I think it's 2025.
So you said you were doing a lot of commissions? Nice. What kind of commissions? Yeah. What kind of stuff are you doing?
I have made a blanket, a pillow, another
Rich Lawrence,
and finishing scarves.
you know,
she's like, what did Ebenezer Bear do now? And I said, we recommend the layoffs effective immediately so we can drastically cut the tax levy for next year. And Julianne Thomas goes, can we lay him off? That's fine. I'm not saying anything wrong. That's what happened. Yeah, you're right. That's okay. I walked in here and made eyes at the camera and said, you're alone. All right. Oh, wow. It was 9 years ago that I took my car. So 9 years ago is when the Metro deflated or whatever.
For two things. First of all, for signing the petition. And second of all, for not coming to the cross-study meetings. Steve Beer didn't come to the cross-study meetings. He didn't choose Steve Beer.
No, the favoritism and everything is very clear tonight. You know.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Beer calling Debbie a liar because there's an item on the agenda that she put there that you never argued with him. Are they coming back?
Good night, Craig. Thanks for watching.
Why is Craig going to bed?
Thank you for watching, Craig.
He's still watching.
We assume he's still there somewhere.
Should we do a dance number for him?
Sure. Like a garage.
I'm sure his blood pressure went up watching it tonight.
I think the Santa there is a good call, because he can watch them and see how naughty they're all being.
I think that's a ficus by the ficus.
Possibly.
Should have brought Santa up to speak.
I'm like, I'm sometime everywhere.
That's what it sounds good.
We should have ordered a pizza.
You know, we talked about it, you're right. Ho, ho, ho.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Yeah, the Christmas party.
I have to say one thing, I've never seen anything like this before.
You won't either.
Well, what's worse?
Even worse. I thought my stage was lower. Everything's
It's almost coming. That's why I like it. It's coming.
Well, it'd be comical if it didn't affect people's lives.
Right. Well, yeah, that's exactly true.
How else do you think he makes it all the way around the world in one night?
Gotta make money out of this shit. Make money out of it.
Well, I was joking about that. This is better than most soap operas.
Don't go.
They're
back. Hey, I'll see you.
Oh, I don't know. Nobody's here. No, his quote is here.
They have to stay long.
He's right there. Oh, I got a great story for you.
I'm dealing with it, so.
I went down to the hideout.
I'm going off the doctor because I told her I lose 5 pounds and I gained 5 pounds. So now I'm 10 pounds off.
I had my coat
It's just
like
one of
this
those
on
skinny
the
ones
bar
that eats
chair, and I had
vegetarian
my
and
little
all that.
after
It's
it was
number 10.
Oh my gosh, it's gone. It was like really crowded, right? I'm thinking, well, maybe somebody knocks it off, right? So
There's a condition.
told them, like at the bar, I just want to wait, I mean, the bar was like that, I need to walk in and drink some back. I'm done with the bar, I just, like.
I thought it was old age, it seems to be the same.
So,
And there is no like middle point. I go from freezing to
For me, what I do is I go to Pizza Fair and socks on, how they fall asleep, and then kick them off, because that keeps you so warm. So then maybe try that.
side pocket.
Kick them off, like after your puppy goes.
You know how? Okay.
Yep. Somebody tried it. He wants the extra.
Right? And in my pocket, I had like a bunch of my state credit cards.
I have a very special
I have a stack and I have blood pressure. So
if they fix one, the other will be a problem. So both of them work in tandem.
But they're.
And the guy looks inside. I just checked. It's all over.
Still like that time.
Side pockets later. Well, the law says that you can call the police for stolen property.
Oh, yeah, John was saying that too, but you have to choose your person now. And that, and then it becomes their property or
Yeah,
whatever.
they have to pick that. It's all said and done. It's all said and done.
And I asked him, I said, you're ready to get some money? And he says, no, not really. I'm like, I'm not crap.
I only paid $129.
I got your spot. Hey, Dan, are you ready? So I can call back to the meeting. You ready?
One of the other delegates from other states.
I'm gonna call the meeting back. I'm gonna start the meeting again.
Okay.
You got to tell what time it is.
10:19.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to call the meeting, come back from executive session and get this meeting started again. Do we need a motion?
10:19.
So I need a motion, somebody to make a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Make the motion.
Second? I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Mike, aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Is there anything else? There's member, there's member comments on there. Is there any comments from the board? I've lost my agenda. There's none?
Board member comments.
Okay, board members' comments?
That's why I don't like this stuff.
Okay, if nothing, we'll move on. So we have an adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll make a motion.
Well, tell everybody when the next meeting is. The next meeting of the regular township.
Okay.
You don't need to do that, but it's always the same.
Well, as long as you call, I'll do it. Steve asked to let you know what when the next meeting is. It's gonna be Thursday, January 9th, 2020, of course, at 7 p.m. So with that, is there a motion to end this meeting?
I made
Second?
We all voted.
Not the end, no. We didn't vote.
We voted to come
Yeah.
back.
Okay. Mike, are you voting at the end of the meeting? I need a vote, yeah? Okay. Motion carried, meeting is over. Thank you.
All right, everybody stop over here, all trustees to sign this.
I don't know that far.
Hell no.
We are. That's why I don't want these signed until the end, everybody's together.
Everyone have a good holiday.
You have a really.
Let me get all these things signed. That's highly appreciated. I gotta get something.
Steve, let me point something out to you. No, this is just a technical thing.
You're missing the town. You're probably with us that day when we were at the poorhouse.
When it comes to the insurance on the buses, drivers, and
They broke off and then I went
people's houses and all that. Once they step off the bus, they're not covered by the insurance.
So that it worked its way out.
Then you get covered by the insurance.
That's why we're playing the window.
The umbrella.
So if they give you more.
It's true, that somebody's gonna get in a lot of trouble every time it does. It was, we met in the morning.
Anyway, it has nothing to do with buses. Same thing as when they help people in disasters.
Leave it aside, yes.
Yes, it is. It is. I agree. Whatever they're doing amongst all the.
You got the angels.
But of course, he took that as, oh, somebody took it.
No, it's Jerry.
Well, I don't see what it is.
I thought it was 19.
Too many numbers, just show up. Nine, so much nine, it's almost 10.
First kind of a wine thing, and I was like, there's wine? Keep me away. And he's like, what, you don't like wine? I'm like, no.
I know.
Grab your whiskey on that side, and then you turn around and there's my wine.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
I gotta sign this paper first. Let me read this first. I'm trying to get this done first.
That's one of the pages out here.
John, you say you'll be here tomorrow night?
I even got my wet open in the car.
All right.
It was hard getting the truck in there, I had to keep on pushing the truck in.
You got a rabbit too? I put birthday.
I got a bag at the dollar store.
Oh, you do rabbit bag?
Just trade it out.
No, that's the fun.
Who's gonna run the
Somehow I gotta sit right here.
She was only came up with the idea, so we want to make her run. Jamie? Oh, yeah.
Jamie doesn't.
I never traded off the wet open, with a bidding on them?
No.
Okay.
It's a trade and cut from human broker.
It's a game.
No, it's one of those things where if you don't like what you got, somebody, either try to get somebody else's.
Yes.
Or somebody can try to get yours, and get something good.
Well, I kind of wrapped it a little bit, I mean.
But you know, you do all of that before it's unwrapped, so you're just going off of what it looks like.
So you're just picking a whole, picking
somebody will be chosen at random to pick from the pile.
Yeah, so people
And then the next
go
person,
feel and shake and.
the next person can then pick from the pile or steal from somebody who's a regular.
Yeah, you get the choice to pick from the
I
pile,
don't
pick
think I
somebody
signed
else.
And then if you steal from somebody else, then they can pick from the pile or steal from somebody else, but not the person that just stole from you.
Yeah, and then you can have it stolen from you by someone else.
We had something like that in my cops group.
I want Dan to release.
We had, we had an ugly laugh that made me drown amongst our friends for like 12 years. It got to the point that we actually started trying to get the lamp. You'd look at all the packages and try to figure out which one had the lamp in it this year.
She had a fit,
Hey,
and said,
Stan.
no, I'm not
How's
getting
your
it
wife?
up.
It was one year that the lamp wasn't in any of them, and it was that,
It's like,
who got the lamp last time?
time?
No, you have to put the lamp in.
Still on the keyboard.
It's a requirement, you don't get to keep it for more than a year. It had fringe on it, and like gold lame, and animal print on the shade.
Animal print shade with fringe, and gold, and it wasn't even gold and it was like, Merry Christmas, live
Gold, the thing was hideous.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
And a happy New Year.
You guys aren't having a meeting, are you?
Because hopefully I won't have to see you before then.
No, I got a feeling you can do it again.
Hopefully none of us will see
Sounds
each
like a
other.
meeting.
Obviously, we're all here at one time. Pretty hard.
Well, we just can't talk about township business.
Want to see the numbers?
Happy holidays.
Should be
Merry Christmas.
what's up, isn't it?
Happy holidays.
There. Don't want to see the
I
votes?
mean, one of the reasons these things probably die is people don't come out.
The Soros backed. You're the one with the memory problem, man.
Are these
Huh?
all off?
Yeah.
It was his insistence. Let's see this weekend.
Oh, you're turning them off?
It sounds like they're on when you hit the.
Right, when you hit the thing, on the button.
That's exactly what I expected to happen. And he said, I don't know